Okay, Strixhaven just released. Let's hop into a sealed event. I like to do at least one sealed event per set. I think they don't have the best return on investment on Arena, so usually don't do more than one, but it's a great way to learn the format, I found, and I am a little bit, you know, I know a lot of the rares out of this set, but not the commons and uncommons, so I'm going to be kind of going in depth with my pool here, looking at all the stuff I pulled and kind of evaluating it in real time. So here, okay, one thing to keep in mind is you can very easily open more than 6 rares. Usually you have 6 rares in a sealed pool, right? You have your 6 rares from your rare slots, and that's it. But in this set, there's also the these guys here, the Mystical Archives, which are just an extra card slotted into every pack that could be common, could be, or I guess they only have uncommons, rares, and mythics, but you could easily have multiple, you know, way more than 6 rares, and it looks like we actually got almost, I think, the maximum amount of rares. We got actually 11 rares in our 6 packs, which is kind of nuts. So these 6 we'll look at, but then there's also 5 more to look at in our packs. So just starting off with these 6, the one that jumps off the page is obviously Professor Onyx. Just a ridiculous card. One of the most, I did a video on the most textful cards in the game, and she's actually in the top 30. So out of all the cards printed in the entire history of the game, she has some of the most text, and with that comes a lot of power. I mean, she has a static ability, Magecraft. Whenever we cast or copy an instant sorcery spell, each opponent loses 2 life and we gain 2 life. Very, very, very powerful. Just, that's exactly what you want. The fact that you gain life back means that when you're playing her as your 6-drop, not only does she have her abilities to sort of, you know, immediately impact the board, but you can kind of, if you're up against like an aggressive deck, let's say, you can kind of claw your way back in. They're not just going to burn you out, which is more realistic in this format where we have like Mystical Archive, lightning bolts running around and stuff. So Magecraft is just her first ability. She's got 3 more, and she's got a +1. We lose 1 life. Look at the top 3 cards of our library. One of them goes to our hand, the rest go into our graveyard. Really good. Just it's basically +1 to draw a card, except better. You get to, you know, draw the best out of your top 3. And she's actually not far away from her ultimate, which is a -8 ability. Usually Planeswalkers, it's not very likely that they're going to hit their ultimate, especially in Limited. But here, I mean, we play her, we tick her up to 6. Her ultimate's only 8. We only takes us like 3 turns to get there. And that ultimate is -8. Each opponent may discard a card. If they don't, they lose 3 life. Repeat this process 6 more times. So 7 times in total. So opponent's got to discard until they can't, and then they lose 3 life. So really it's just -8. Opponent discards her hand and hits him for like, I don't know, like 12 damage usually. She has a -3 ability. Each opponent sacrifices a creature that with the greatest power among creatures that player controls. So that's just like the best a sacrifice ability could be, right? It's -3, kill their best thing in most cases. So just a absolute house of a card, a huge pull towards black, maybe the best rare in the entire set. You know, it's a pretty hard set to evaluate, so I don't know that for sure, but it's got to be up there in like the top 5 or something. So Professor Onyx, big pull towards black. We also have Valentine, another another black card, although it's got a green card on the back, and this is the Dean cycle, which effectively they're just 2 very complex cards stapled together with no thought to, well, maybe they should be less complex because they're 2 sides of the same card. No, they don't worry about that. They just they just let you have 2 full cards in 1 card. That's what all these Deans are. There's 1 for every color combination that's supported in the format. So we've got the green-black one here, which is Valentine and Lizette. And basically, Valentine is fine. It's a 1-mana, 1/1 menacing, life-linking. It's a good way to gain life repeatedly, basically. It's kind of hard to block, and it can get in some early damage and gain us some life. And he has a second ability that says whenever an opponent's creatures die, they just get exiled, which is nice. You know, stops graveyard recursion and other stuff like that. And then when they get exiled, we get to pay 2 and make a pest creature token if we have the mana open. So they get exiled no matter what, but if we have 2 extra mana, we can start making pests. So all in all, a really powerful 1-drop. And then Lizette, though. Lizette is the much better of the 2. As decent as Valentine is, Lizette's just ridiculous. So Lizette is a 4-mana 4/4, and she says whenever we gain life, we may pay 1. If we do, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature we control, and they gain trample. So ridiculous. Just if you have ways to repeatedly gain life, like per se, Professor Onyx gaining his life over and over again just gets ridiculous, right? You can just so easily make this unbeatable board state, especially if, if you have cards like Valentine that are spitting out a bunch of these little pest tokens, all of a sudden they become real threats with Lizette. So I think we play this. If we end up in green-black, we're super happy with this card, but we play this, I think, in any combination of green and black. If we end up in white-black, I think we still play Valentine. If we end up in, what's the other green? Blue-green. If we end up in blue-green, we probably still play Lizette, too, because, I mean, at the end of the day, she's just a 4-mana 4/4 that, even if we only have a couple ways to gain life, that's pretty good. Moving on, Increasing Vengeance. 2 red mana, copy target instant or sorcery spell you control, and then it has flashback, so we can cast it out of the graveyard for 5, and if we do, we get to make 2 copies instead. So usually this card is not very playable and limited, and probably still not extremely playable, but this is a format that cares a lot about instants and sorceries, right? Especially, I mean, Magecraft, they have things that just want to cast sorceries, and it's important to note that Magecraft actually triggers on copies as well, not just on casting. So if we, for example, if we cast an instant or sorcery, we get to trigger Professor Onyx once, then we cast Increasing Vengeance just regularly on that instant or sorcery, we get another trigger because we just casted Increasing Vengeance, and then when Increasing Vengeance copies that instant or sorcery, we get a third trigger. So out of 2 instants and sorceries, because we copied, we got to get 3 Magecraft triggers. So that's something to keep in mind, is that copying spells, because there's just going to be more instants and sorceries in this set than usual, and also it really goes super well with Magecraft. It is more playable in this format than usual, but it still does nothing by itself, right? it still needs you to have 2 extra mana when you're casting your instant and sorcery, and both those extra mana have to be red. Flashback, it gets even harder. You're probably going to have like 9 or something mana to do something effective with it. So still not great, but I think actually playable if you have the right pieces. Tendrils of Agony, however, is not. Tendrils of Agony is effectively just Liliana's Magecraft ability, where whenever we cast an instant or sorcery, we get to drain for 2. This is just that on a card. We drain for 2, and then it has Storm. And if you don't know what Storm is, it's effectively every other spell you cast that turn, you get to copy this spell. I guess it has a description there. When you cast a spell, copy it for each spell cast before it this turn. You may choose new targets for the copies. So the idea being that, like, say we play 1 drop, 1 drop, 1 drop, and then we play Tendrils of Agony. So it's going to drain those initial 2, and then it gets copied 3 times for those other spells, so we're going to drain for 8. But it's just too hard to do and limited to have a turn where you cast like 4 or 5 or whatever spells to actually make this good. It's just not likely. Definitely has applications in Constructed where you can set that up more consistently, but in Limited, just casting this and getting even just like, oh, I got 2 of them, not really worth it. Yeah, so Tendrils of Agony is kind of the first rare we've looked at here that's just kind of not really playable, I don't think. Demogoth Titan, so this is 4 mana, hybrid black-green mana, and it's an 11/10. So whenever it attacks or blocks, sacrifice a creature. So 4 mana, 11/10, about as big as creatures get at 4 mana. And it does have a downside, of course. You have to, attack or block. You have to sacrifice a creature. But if you have ways to make, little pest tokens, that's not such a big deal. And it's not one of these creatures that, like, there's creatures like this that just sit out and, like, okay, at your upkeep, sacrifice a creature. I think there's actually another Demogoth in the set that does exactly that. And that's a lot more of a cost, because even if you don't get to do anything, if you don't attack or don't block, you're still kind of eating away at your own resources just by having the creature out there. But this one, I mean, until you're ready, you can just cast this thing and leave it on the battlefield until you have some pests that you're ready to sacrifice, or, it's not like it's just sitting there eating resources just for existing. So I think that actually makes it a lot better. Its mana cost is something worth mentioning, the quadruple green-black hybrid. That basically means it's the easiest spell in the world to cast in a green-black deck, a deck that's specifically both green or black. Any 4 of your lands will cast it. It's basically colorless. But in any kind of deck derivative of that, like if you're in black-white or if you're in blue-green, this becomes a lot harder to cast. I don't think impossible, but you got to treat it more like a 6 or 7 mana spell than a 4 mana spell, because you're just not going to cast it on turn 4. You're not likely to have 4 forests in a row in your blue-green deck. So something to keep in mind, that this is more of a green-black card, although you can play it in those other colors. It's just going to be a lot more expensive, effectively. Academic Probation. So this is a lesson. Lesson is one of the main themes of the set, which is you have these cards that learn, and when you learn, you get to go grab lessons out of your sideboard. So we wouldn't actually put this in our main deck. It would just be sitting in our sideboard, and just if we ever have a learn card, we can go grab that out of our sideboard. So we have to evaluate it in that sort of context. We're not thinking, is this good enough to put into our deck? We're just thinking, you know, do we want to pull this out of our sideboard with a learn card? Is it worth doing that? So that said, it's a 2-mana sorcery that says choose a non-land card name. Opponents can't cast spells with that chosen name until your next turn, and choose target non-land permanent. Until end of turn, it can't attack or block and activate its ability. So not super good. There's actually just, I think there's like common lessons that are just kind of better than this, to be honest. The lessons are kind of weird. It seems like a lot of the best ones are at lower rarities for some reason, but yeah, I mean, this isn't the worst thing to have, right? Just having it in our arsenal, so if our opponent does, you know, have a creature, if they just have like one creature we need to get out of the way to attack for lethal, we can pull this out and do it, right? Having a 2-mana way to answer something temporarily isn't the worst thing, but it's also not super good, so not a big pull towards like white. Looking at our cards here, we have, you know, some really good green-black cards. So that's kind of where I am initially drawn to, is these 3 rares here all seem pretty good. And Tendril is not so much. Academic Probation and Increasing Vintage is kind of okay. But let's take a look at the 5 other ones, because we're still not done looking at our rares and mythics here. So rare, mythic. Let's check out the rest of ours here. So Conspiracy Theorist, which I do think is pretty good. So has an ability that says whenever we discard 1 or more non-land cards, we can exile one of them from our graveyard, and if you do, you may cast it this turn. So important to point out that that is not play it, it's cast it. So if you discard a land and you exile the land, you don't get to play the land. It has to specifically be a spell. But still, I mean, being able to discard something, if you have some discard effects in your deck, being able to discard something that you would just lose otherwise and being able to cast it is basically drawing a card. So an effect like discard a card, draw 2 cards, now becomes basically draw 3 cards, you know, for 2 mana or whatever. So that's pretty good if you have effects like that. And he also can discard himself, because it says whenever he attacks, you may pay 1 and discard a card. If you do, draw a card. So I think that's a little bit of a trap, thinking that, oh, he can just do it by himself. You know, I don't need any discard effects. He can just draw me some cards on his own. I mean, he's a 2-mana 2/2, right? So how effectively is he really going to be attacking, right? He'll attack. Maybe that'll happen like once or twice before your opponent plays something with 3 toughness and they can't attack anymore. So I think you really want to have other discard effects in your deck with Conspiracy Theorist, and then he's quite good. But just by himself, he's all right. You know, he's not bad or anything, but just all right. We got Stone Rain is another one of our rares. Truly awful. I mean, there's constructed decks you can make where Stone Rain's fantastic, but not in limited. There's just no way this is worth a card. Oh, Dramatic Finale. Wow, okay. This one is... I know what this card is. Again, I've looked at a lot of the rares and the mythics for Commander, and I know this one is nuts. So, 4-mana enchantment that costs any amount of hybrid black and white. So, any combination of black and white that adds up to 4 mana. And it says, creature tokens you control get +1/+1. And so just an anthem for tokens, which is okay, but the really important part is the second ability. Whenever 1 or more non-token creatures you control die, make a 2/1 black and white Inkling creature token with flying. You only get it once per turn. Insane. It's just basically unbeatable in the long game. So definitely something we want to play if we can. We seem to have a lot of good just like black cards, like Valentine, Professor Onyx, Dramatic Finale, Demogoth Titan. All of these can technically be mono black. We're not likely to be able to play a mono black deck in Sealed. We probably just don't have enough black cards to do that, but worth keeping in mind that there's a lot of draw towards black right now. Then we also have Electrolyze, which is pretty nice. So red and blue in 1, so 3 mana. Instant, deal 2 damage divided as however you want among 1 or 2 targets, and draw a card. So just a really nice utility spell. You know, 3 mana, kill something, draw a card a lot of the times, or if you get lucky, your opponent has 2 things with 1 toughness, you get to like kill 2 things and draw a card, in which case it's just kind of a blowout. And then even if your opponent just doesn't have anything you can kill, you can still cycle it and double in the head for 2. So that's a really good utilitarian card. But we just don't have much drawing us to blue-red, it doesn't feel like. you know, there's Increasing Vengeance and Conspiracy Theorist are okay, but yeah, this is the first thing where Prismari, which is a blue-red deck, this is the first like real draw towards, ooh, that seems good. You know, we have a lot of stuff drawing us in other directions. And then finally, Cody Versiferous Codex. If this was draft, I would absolutely play Cody and try to make a Cody deck work in draft. If this was like pack one, pick one, and I saw Cody, we would be going all for this. But Sealed, it's probably just impossible to make this work. So what Cody does is it's a 3-mana 1/4, and it has one sentence that makes it very, very hard to play, which is you can't cast permanent spells. So no creatures, no enchantments, no artifacts, no planeswalkers, only instants and sorceries with Cody. But in exchange for that, it has the ability to pay 4 to add 5 mana of all different colors. And you can use that 5 mana to cast an instant or sorcery, and whenever you cast your next spell this turn, you get to cascade. Basically, you just when you cast, if you say you cast a 5-drop spell, you cascade until you hit a 4-drop or lower instant or sorcery, and you get to cast it for free. So you get to basically get to double up your spells. So very powerful in that sense, but also extremely restrictive, where you know, it's not really realistic to run this in your deck. You're just gonna get wrecked by your own card trying to play this, I think, in a regular deck. So anyway, like I said, there's a lot of stuff drawing us towards black in particular, but one thing to keep in mind with Sealed is you can't always just be drawn by your rares. If we just don't have enough black cards in our pool, we're just not going to be able to play black. You know, you kind of have to go with what you get here. So we're going to take a look at all of our cards, do a little bit of analysis on each of them, because again, I'm pretty new to the format. I know some of the cards, but not all of them. So let's take a look at all these. We've got Detention Vortex, which is a 1-mana enchantment aura. Enchant non-land permanent. Enchant a permanent can't attack or block, and its abilities can't be activated, and your opponent can pay 3 mana to destroy it, only as a sorcery. Pretty meh. I mean, being able to, if you're in an aggressive enough deck, I guess this is fine. A 1-mana temporary answer to a creature is okay, but it's so temporary, and 3 mana is just not that much. They do have to do it on their own turn at least, which is something, but so doing something like Detention Vortex on their creature, it can't block, you attack in, they're like, okay, I'll spend my whole turn blowing up the Detention Vortex, and then it comes back to your turn and you just kill it. They've just basically been time-walked, kinda, and so that makes it better in that sense, but it's still just too easy to get rid of, I think. It's not that good. Star Pupil, so 1 mana, 0/0. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Okay, so 1 mana, 1/1, and when it dies, put its counters on target creature you control. So, by itself, definitely not worth playing. A 1 mana, 1/1 just doesn't do enough. But if you're able to put counters on this thing and make it a problem for your opponent to kill it, you know, if they kill your Star Pupil, if you get a couple counters, so it's a 3/3, if they kill your Star Pupil, you can throw its counters on like a flyer or something. That seems better, and we got a couple of them, so if we have a lot of good +1/+1 counter synergy, maybe he crosses the threshold into playability, but just by himself, he doesn't do enough. Talked about Academic Probation already. Beaming Defiance, 2 mana, target creature your opponent, or target creature you control gets +2/+2 and gains hexproof until end of turn. Not like the worst combat trick, but not a great one either. Combat tricks are just so much better at 1 mana. Once you get up to 2 mana, that has to be like, okay, this is pretty good. You know, you have to really want it at that point. And I mean, this giving hexproof means this blows out any removal spell, and +2/+2 is enough to win almost any combat. You know, so it's probably good enough to play, but it's just not super exciting. It's probably maybe play one of them or something, but. Eager First Year, I actually do know this card, and I think it's pretty good. So, 2 mana, 2/2 with Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant sorcery spell, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So, pretty easy for this thing to just get out of control. You know, Beaming Defiance, for example. We attack him with Eager First Year, our opponent doesn't block. We play Beaming Defiance, this gets +2/+2, then it gets another +1/+0, so we're talking about 5 damage, and if you can, you know, put another pump spell on the stack, you can easily hit your opponent for like 7-8 damage with this thing, because it doesn't even have to be a pump spell, right? Even if you're just casting other spells, this can quickly quickly grow in power. And the real thing is that makes it good is its fail case is that it's a 2-mana 2/2. So you're not like setting up some crazy situation where things have to fall in place for this card to be good. It's just already playable, and then sometimes it'll be really, really good. So I think this is actually a pretty good card. Study Break, here's one of the learn cards. We saw a lesson earlier. So this is what you grab out of the sideboard, and this is something that lets you go grab that out of the sideboard with learn. So instant speed, 2 mana, tap 2 target creatures, and learn. Not really good. I think for me, I think a learn card has to be close to worth a card on its own, as well as the lesson. Like if each one of them is worth around about a card, maybe a little less than a card on its own, then you're getting some value, right? You're not just playing a bad card that turns into another bad card. You're playing something that's mostly worth it plus something that's mostly worth it, and that adds up to, you know, being definitely worth it. But this is just 2 mana, tap 2 target creatures at instant speed. That's just not worth a card, you know? That's just not very good. So the fact that it can go grab a lesson doesn't really matter, unless we just have some really good lessons we want to go grab. But yeah, I don't think we'll be playing this. Pilgrim of the Ages, another card I do know, because this card is going to be pretty good in Commander too, I think. But it's a 3 mana 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, we may search our library for a basic Plains card and put it into our hand. Pretty good. It's basically a 3 mana 2/1 that comes into play, and you draw a card. That card is always going to be a land, but that's okay because it lets you hit your 4th land drop, so you can cast your 4-drop on time. And yeah, I mean, that's just good value. And it has an even better ability where you can pay 6 and return it from your graveyard to your hand. So, you know, obviously paying 6 mana to get back a 2/1 and then paying 3 more mana to recast it seems like a lot, and it's not like crazy, oh my gosh, it's so good, but when you have nothing else to do, it's pretty good, right? Paying 6 mana at instant speed, you know, at the end of your opponent's turn, you can leave up instants if you want to, and if they don't do anything, you can just be like, alright, I'll just get back my Pilgrim, replay my Pilgrim, go get another Plains out of my deck, thin my deck a little bit, hit my next land drop. So yeah, just all around, it's doing a lot of stuff, and it's pretty good. And the big theme for red-white in particular in this set is when things leave your graveyard, they have abilities that trigger on that, because it's like, I really like the red-white theme in this set, which is like archaeology. So the idea of like something being uncovered from the graveyard, you get some special abilities for that. So just the fact that this removes itself from the graveyard and puts itself back into your hand, even at 6 mana, has some additional benefit besides just that. And by itself, it's just already a playable and pretty good card. So pretty nice to pick one of those up. Dueling Coach, I don't know what this is. So 4 mana, when it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. And then you can pay 5 mana and tap it to put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. Okay, so baseline, it's a 4 mana 3/3, which is not good. But you can pay 5 at any point to make it into a 4/4 and then a 5/5. Okay, so I mean, it's not fantastic, but obviously if you have a bunch of +1/+1 counter things, if you have a bunch of star pupils running around, that 5 mana activated ability is a lot better, and can kind of do like Lizette, like we were talking about, where you just slowly build this like unbreakable board of beefy creatures. Lizette's obviously way better, but can kind of do an imitation of that. So yeah, I think this is fine. Yeah, we definitely, you know, you need the pieces to make it work, but still pretty good. Symmetry Sage, so 1 blue mana, flyer, and it's a 0/2. And whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, it has Magecraft. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, target creature you control has base power 2 until end of turn. So pretty bad. Just its fail case is really bad, right? 1 blue mana for a flying 0/2, just not good. It can't even block well. It just does nothing unless you hit Magecraft. Yeah, this just seems bad. Arcane Subtraction, 2 mana, instant, target creature gets -4/-0 until end of turn and learn. Okay, I'm actually more on board with this. You know, Study Break just doesn't do enough, but this could lead to some combat silliness. You could win, you know, instead of trading, you could just eat one of their creatures, and you still get to draw a card off the top of that too. Or it can just be like gain 4 life effectively and learn, you know, if you just put it on one of their big creatures. So probably a fine card. It's again, this isn't really worth a whole card, but it's worth enough of a card that attaching learn to it makes it feel a lot better, I think. Curate, so look at the top 2 cards of your library. You can put any of the number of them into the graveyard, and the rest of the top and draw a card. So just a 2 mana cantrip, not very good. But if we just need more instants and sorceries in our deck to trigger Magecraft, that's something, I guess. Negate, probably won't be playing Negate main deck. I guess this set has more targets than usual because people are running a lot of instant sorceries, but it's just it's not really a main deck card, and this is best of one, so probably just won't be playing the gate. Soothsayer Adept, we got 3 of these, so 2 mana, 1/3, and we can pay 2 to draw a card and discard a card, and not very good. It's not bad. It can be an okay defensive body at 2 mana, 1/3, and it can do some, you know, looting to draw us into our better cards, but it's just you just don't have the time you used to in Limited, you know? You're not really likely to just be sitting back and looting turn after turn. Your opponent's going to be killing you, or you're just going to have better things to do. It's a lot harder to kind of run out of action nowadays compared to old days. So, you know, if you're more likely to be like pulling lessons out of your sideboard with learn and stuff. I just don't think this is that good. Probably at least playable though, but having 3 of these isn't a big pull towards blue. Test of Talents, so I know what this does as well. This is just a 2 mana, you counter an instant or sorcery, and then you get to like pull all the copies out of that, out of your opponent's deck. Not really good in Limited. Kelpie Guide, so 3 mana, 2/2. Untap another target permanent you control, or tap a target permanent. Activate only if you control 8 or more lands. So that's sort of a sub-theme of the blue-green deck, having 8 or more lands, and you get special abilities based on that. So, very good. I think this is actually quite good. So a 3 mana untapper, which can untap a land. You know, it's not a non-land permanent. So you can play this on turn 3, turn 4, play your land, tap 4, and then use this to untap one of your lands. Tap it for a 5th mana, cast your 5-drop. So kind of a mana dork, and/or gives something vigilance. Effectively, and it's just a 2/2 body, which isn't a bad fail case at 3 mana. And in the late game, it becomes a really annoying card, which can just shut down our opponent's best threat. So, you know, save us from a flyer, stuff like that. So, yeah, pretty great card, Kelpie Guide. Moving on to Mentor's Guidance. So 3 mana, when you cast a spell, copy it if you control a Planeswalker, a Cleric, a Druid, a Shaman, a Warlock, or a Wizard. Scry 1, then draw a card. So this is 3 mana, scry 1, draw a card, scry 1, draw a card. So kind of like scry 2, draw 2 cards, but a little bit worse. Scry 2 is probably just better than scry 1, but effectively 3 mana, scry 2, draw 2 cards, which is very powerful, but you need one of these creature types in the battlefield, which I imagine is almost everything in this set, right? Because this is a set all about a magic school, right? So everyone's going to be a wizard or a druid or a shaman or a warlock. So probably going to have that creature type on the battlefield. We even have a planeswalker, thanks to Liliana. So probably pretty good, yeah. We also have Waterfall Aerialist, a Jin wizard for 4 mana. It's a 3/1 flyer, so a pretty good finisher to kind of kill our opponent, and it has Ward. So Ward is a new mechanic out of this set, and one that's immediately going to become evergreen, so it's going to be in all sets moving forward. And it's basically just hexproof, but not horrible. Like, hexproof, I think, is just a bad ability, and I think they have basically almost phased it out at this point, right? You only really see it like once a set or something, and it's because it's just so problematic. It's just so, like, putting hexproof, I think it was Ixalan, or Rivals of Ixalan, or something like that. One of the Ixalan sets where there was just a pretty innocuous looking, I think it was a 4 mana 3/3 with hexproof. They're like, yeah, okay, that's not such a big deal. But you just slap an enchantment on that thing that gives it flying, and your opponent can't win. Like, they just lose the game because they can't kill the damn thing, no matter what they do. And Ward is kind of like hexproof, except your opponent can pay attacks to get around it effectively. So Ward 2 means if our opponent wants to kill this thing with their removal spell, they're going to have to pay their normal cost of the removal spell, and also 2 more. And that's a lot, I think, healthier for the game than hexproof, and still pretty good. I mean, still, if our opponent has a 4 mana removal spell and is getting beaten down by this thing, and they only have 5 lands, they're going to really hate that this thing has Ward 2. So I think pretty good creature, pretty good finisher all around. Obviously, just gets kind of riggedy wrecked against any 1/1 flyers or whatever, but hey, that's okay. It can't be perfect. Moving on to Bury in the Books. So this is a 5 mana instant, costs 2 less to cast if it targets an attacking creature. Put target creature on into its owner's library second from the top. It reads kind of like a white card, kind of a weird card to be blue. But so 5 mana, just no restrictions. Put a creature on top of its opponent's library second from the top, and if you're up against an aggressive deck, it's more flexible. I think this is actually really good because a 3 mana removal spell against aggressive decks and a 5 mana removal spell against less aggressive decks And this is a removal spell. This does, you know, even though they get to draw the card in a couple turns, it does, that's going to basically make them skip that draw, right? So it is still effectively trading a card for a card. It's not like a bounce spell where you're trading a card on your end, but not actually getting rid of a card on their end. It is better than that. So there is we got some goodies in blue here. You know, this and Mentor's Guidance and Kelby Guide, all good cards in blue. And then finally, our last mono blue card. There's lots of gold cards in this set, so we will take it. You know, there's still other blue cards to look at, but as far as mono blue cards go, last one is Wormhole Serpent. So 5 mana, 3/5, can pay 4 mana to target creature can't be blocked this turn. So pretty good. Same idea as Waterfall Aerialist, where it's just a good finisher, right? If you're on a stalled board state, having something that can just break that block is pretty good. And just the fail case of a 5 mana 3/5, that's a pretty good defensive body. And yeah, I think the activated ability isn't that expensive, especially if you're in like the blue-green deck, which is all about ramping. 4 mana is not that big of a deal. So I think pretty good finisher card. So blue looks pretty impressive. White was okay. Blue is pretty impressive. But if we wanted to play black, really our only options are black, green, and black, white. There's only 5 supported color combinations in this set, so we're drawn pretty heavily towards black, and that makes blue less attractive just because we're not going to have any gold cards if we go into black-blue. Not that we can't, but it's just going to mean we're not going to see any of these nice gold cards at the end of our pack if we do. Moving on, we have Lash of Malice. So 1 black mana, target creature gets +2/-2 until end of turn, and it's an instant. Pretty good removal spell, yeah. Can do some weird combat stuff where you can pump up one of your 3 toughness creatures to deal with a big thing. You're probably going to be 2-for-1ing yourself in a case like that, or maybe you can get in the last couple points of damage. So it does a little bit more than just like 1 black mana, target creature gets -2/-2. You know, it's not just a removal spell. There's some weird applications for it as well. But then its primary case is that it's just a 1 mana removal spell for small creatures, which is pretty good against like a more aggressive deck. So pretty good. Professor's Warning, 1 black mana, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, and target creature gains indestructible until end of turn. So that's pretty good. So 1 black mana to just blow out pretty much any removal spell, and or win any combat that you were going to trade in, and or, you know, put a +1/+1 counter, which might matter if we have cards that care about +1/+1 counters, and also likely to help us win a combat. So just a pretty versatile card at 1 mana, pretty easy to sneak in. It is, I don't know why this isn't a lesson. It's Professor teaching them something, right? Should be a lesson, I don't know. But I think pretty good card. And I do think that 1 mana instants and sorceries just kind of have more value than they normally would, because there's Magecraft running around, right? So we do get some additional value of just having 1 mana instants in our deck. And these are already, I think, playable. So pretty good to have. We actually got a couple of those too. Nice. Then Valentine, we've talked about him. If we do go into like black-white, for example, Valentine's a pretty good thing to put +1/+1 counters on. So even if we, you know, even if we're only playing Valentine, we never get to play the Lizette side. It does pretty well in black-white. Great receptacle for us to put our Professor's Warning +1/+1 counters on. Village Rites, interesting. This is actually pretty good, you know, in black-green, I think. You know, where you're making a bunch of pest tokens that you want to sacrifice to gain life. This lets you do that. We definitely need the pieces for this to work. You know, we just have to. We'll see if we have the pieces for this card to be good. We can't just play this in any black deck and it be decent, because you are sacrificing a creature. But assuming we have a way to make a good amount of tokens, seems pretty good. Arrogant Poet, so 2 mana, 2/1. When it attacks, you may pay 2 life if you do against flying. So effectively, this is a 2-drop that you're hitting yourself for 2 and hitting your opponent for 2 every turn. So the only times that's good is if you are more aggressive than your opponent. Then it doesn't really matter that you're losing life too, because you're going to kill your opponent first. Or if you can power this thing up so they're losing more life than you are, which again, +1/+1 counters are sort of the theme of black-white, and this would be another good target to put +1/+1 counters on, because if our opponent's losing 3 life every time this attacks while we're losing 2, then it becomes a lot more profitable. Hunt for Specimens. Oh, this is actually a really good one, and it actually probably single-handedly makes this Village Rites a lot better. But Hunt for Specimens, 2 mana sorcery. Create a 1/1 green and black pest creature token with, when this creature dies, you gain 1 life, and then you get to learn. So, yeah, again, 2 mana to make a pest isn't really a card you would play, but it does impact the board enough that having learn attached to it makes it worth it, right? It's not just some ephemeral nothingness. It's something that's actually going to give you a blocker, keep you alive, give you a body to sacrifice to village rights or put a +1/+1 counter on, and then you actually have a whole learn attached to it, a whole lesson that you can go grab out of your sideboard. So, pretty good card. Go blank. So this is the mind rot of the set. 3 mana, target player discards 2 cards, and then you exile all cards from that player's graveyard. So sort of a mind rot with additional upside of exiling your opponent's graveyard. I think it's, you know, the problem with mind rot and the times when these mind rot like effects have been really good and limited is when it solves the problem of what happens if your opponent has already used all the cards in their hand. You know, you can imagine where this card is really good. Your opponent has 2 cards left in their hand, 2 of their bombs they're about to play, and you play Go Blank, just completely wreck them, exile their graveyard too so they can't even get it back. But, you know, there's also a situation where you just are desperate to draw a creature or a removal spell, and you draw this off the top of your deck, and your opponent doesn't have any cards in hand, and this effectively does nothing, right? Its fail case is that it's 3 mana, exile your opponent's graveyard, which is pretty bad. So I don't think this is particularly good. It's not like the effect we saw in Kaldheim where I think it was Kaldheim. Yeah, the effect we saw in Kaldheim where just like target player draws or discards 2 cards, but if they don't have any cards in hand, you get to draw cards. That sort of made this effect a lot more palatable, and even then it wasn't fantastic, but it was definitely playable. So I think, as cool as this art is, I don't think I want to be playing Go Blank. Crushing Disappointment, 4 mana instant. Each player loses 2 life and you draw 2 cards. Again, really just like this flyer guy here, Arrogant Poet, really good in an aggressive deck where you just don't care about the life loss, and you maybe play one of these to kind of refill your hand after you've deployed all your threats. You know, the losing 2 life is significantly worse if you're in a more controlling deck, you know, because then if you're getting beaten down by aggro and you just need to find some action, you're just helping them kill you, and maybe you don't get to deploy that action you find against them. So probably better in black-white than in green-black, but I do think green-black does have the whole life gain sub-theme, so, you know, maybe that can offset the 2 life loss. But 4 mana to draw 2 cards at instant speed is just kind of okay. It's not like great, but probably playable. Spectre of the Fens, 4 mana, 2/3 flyer. Okay, so a decent body. Can kind of lock down the air against, you know, aggressive attacking flyers, and can be a good finisher itself. And then it has the ability to pay 6 mana to drain your opponent for 2, so your opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So that gaining 2 life is a big deal, you know. If this is just drain your opponent, you know, make them lose 2 life, this would be a lot worse. But the fact that this can gain you some life means you can just kind of sit back and stabilize and kind of get out of burnout range against your opponent. So I actually think this is quite good. Yeah, good defensive body, good kind of inevitability built into it. And yeah, I'm just a 4 mana 2/3 flyer is just not bad baseline. Tendrils of Agony, not playing this. Tenured Inkcaster. So 5 mana Vampire Warlock 2/2. 5 mana 2/2 is a bad start. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Okay, so maybe a 5 mana 3/3, still not much better, but whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it attacks, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Ooh, okay. So that's the trick then. You want to play this onto a board where you already have like 3 or 4 creatures with +1/+1 counters, attack in with all those and just kind of like kill the crap out of your opponent on the spot. Okay, if we have the +1/+1 counter for this thing to work, it seems quite good. But it does have a really bad fail case, which is if your opponent just goes like removal spell, removal spell, removal spell, and then you get to turn 5 and you play your Inkcaster and you're playing a 5 mana 3/3 that doesn't do anything. That's really bad. So yeah, it's got some downside built into it. Professor Onyx, fantastic card. I think probably a lot better in green-black than black-white, just because green-black can kind of go longer. Black-white's just kind of being aggressive and trying to beat your opponent down with these flying dudes with +1/+1 counters on them. Whereas black-green is more about sitting back, gaining life, sort of stabilizing, and that's, I think, where she kind of shines. So, big draw towards black for sure. Red, we don't have many red cards here, although, again, we do have the gold cards to look at. But Conspiracy Theorist, you know, pretty good. Illustrious Historian, so a 2-mana 2/1, and that's it. But we can pay 5 mana and exile it from our graveyard to create a 3/2 tapped red and white spirit creature token. So pretty good value. A 2-mana 2/1 in the early game, and then we can just trade it for something or whatever. And then later in the game, we get to, you know, get a free creature out of it essentially. And it does trigger all the red-white things that care about stuff leaving the graveyard by exiling itself. So all in all, just probably like a bread and butter card for red-white. Probably not very good in red-blue, but in red-white, probably quite good. Increasing Vengeance, already talked about that. Dragon's Approach, so weird card. So 3 mana, deals 3 damage to each opponent. That's basically it. But it has this additional text on it that says we can exile it and 4 other cards named Dragon's Approach, which, spoiler alert, we only have 1, so this is not going to work. But if you do happen to have 5 cards, you know, named Dragon's Approach in your graveyard, you exile all of them and you go and grab a dragon and put it directly onto the battlefield. But at that point, you've casted 5 Dragon's Approaches, you've hit your opponent for 15. That you really need a dragon at that point. And you know, I guess the trick of this thing is you like mill yourself, or you're looting these things into the graveyard. I don't know. I think it's just a terrible card, just completely stone cold unplayable. And then you know the other bit of text on there is that your deck can have any number of cards in Dragon's Approach. So if you wanted to live the dream in limited, you could play like 10 Dragon's Approach and like a couple of the Elder Dragons and just hope you get there. But yeah, just pretty bad card all around. Grinning Ignis, this is actually a pretty decent card. So this is a future shifted card. So it was a card they printed in a set where it kind of showed a preview. Ooh, these are the cards that might show up in Magic's future, like 15 years ago. And now it's finally actually showing up in Magic. And so Grinning Ignis, it is a 3-mana 2/2, and then you can pay 1 red mana to return it to your hand and add 3 mana. So confusing, kind of a confusing card to read, but effectively it's a ramp spell, right? Effectively this ramps you. You pay 3 mana, you go to your next turn, you play your 4th land, and you can return this to your hand, add 3 mana, and now you get 6 mana, right? So you can play a 6-drop on turn 4. You only get 1 shot at it. It's not like it sits out and ramps you continually. You have to recast it and return it to your hand again. Do that whole song and dance to generate more mana, but that is still pretty good. Just a 3-mana 2/2 body that can eventually turn into, you know, some really nice ramp. I think it's definitely worth running. Stone Rain, just stone cold unplayable, not a good card in limited. Then we have Tome Shredder, so a 3-mana 2/2 with haste, so okay body. And then you can tap to exile an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to put a +1/+1 counter on it. So altogether, that's pretty good, right? 3-mana hasty 2/2, when that's relevant, that's fine. You know, if your opponent is struggling on lands or doesn't have any good blockers, you can beat in for a turn or 2 with this Tome Shredder, and then your opponent eventually plays a blocker, and then you just say, okay, now I stop attacking, and I can just leave this Tome Shredder back, start eating stuff out of the graveyard to make this a big threat that is relevant again, right? Just sit back and eat stuff out of the graveyard until it becomes relevant again. And it has the additional upside of the haste also works with its exile effect, right? It's not like you have to attack with it the turn you play it. You can play it hasty and then just tap it to exile an instant or sorcery immediately. So quite good, I think. Moving on to Fuming Effigies, this is a 4-mana 4/3. Whenever 1 or more cards leaves your graveyard, Fuming Effigy deals 1 damage to each opponent. So this is what I'm talking about, where Red-White has this sort of theme where it cares about stuff leaving your graveyard. So, you know, we exile our Illustrious Historian, we get our Spirit Creature token, and also, when we do that, because a card left our graveyard, Fuming Effigy is going to ping our opponent. So, definitely more of a Red-White card than a Red-Blue card, but pretty nice. Moving on to green, we have Charge Through. So again, like I was saying, with spells like Lash of Malice and Professor's Warning, a 1-mana instant or sorcery does have some additional value in this set because it triggers Magecraft. So Charge Through costs 1 green mana as an instant and says target creature gains trample until the end of the turn, draw a card. So yeah, just sort of a cantrip, just something that you get to draw a card. You can cycle it away if you need to hit your land drops or whatever. It's pretty easy to just target. You know, you need a creature on the battlefield to actually target to be able to cast this, but it doesn't have to be your creature. Even if you don't have any creatures out, you can target an opponent's creature, give it trample, and cycle a card to try to find your land drop. So just a fine card, not bad. Bayou Graf. Ooh, we actually got 3 of these, which I think is pretty good. So Bayou Graf is a 2-mana 5/4. Very nice. Like, those are amazing stats, but it does have an additional effect, which is, as an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature or pay 3. So ideally we do something like Hunt for Specimens, make a 1/1, then turn 3 we can play this for 2 mana, sacrifice the 1/1, and we have a 5/4 out early. But it does have the fail case where we can just pay 5 mana for this, just a 5 mana 5/4, which isn't, like, it's not good, but it's not the worst card in the world. So having that flexibility is pretty nice, where 2 mana this is really nice, and 5 mana this is just kind of, you know, not good, but not terrible. So yeah, having 3 of those is a pretty big draw towards green. So maybe we could do a pretty good green-black deck. We'll see if we've got enough in the rest of our green to work with that here. Devouring Tendrils, so 1 in a green, target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. So it's a bite. It's not a fight. Your creature's not fighting the other creature. They don't deal damage equal to each other. It just bites, you know, the creature or planeswalker. And it goes on to say, when the permanent you don't control dies this turn, you gain 2 life. So it's some life gain for our black-green synergies. Very good card. Yeah. 2 mana sorcery bite that gives you some life gain too. That's fantastic. Yeah, so wow, we got some big pulls towards green here. Overgrown Art, so 2 mana, Defender, 0/4. You can tap it to gain 1 life. Pretty good. I mean, usually these sort of Defender creatures, they used to be a lot better in Magic, I think, where you could kind of just play one of these to kind of lock down the aggressive decks, and meanwhile you're getting in the air or whatever. And I think Magic's just kind of become, threats have become too efficient and powerful for that to really work out so well anymore. But the fact that this can kind of sit back and gain us life, that's even better. That's like really going to hurt an aggressive deck. And it's a way to trigger our life gain trigger stuff repeatable times. And then we can pay 2 mana to sacrifice it and learn. So yeah, all in all, when in the early game against an aggressive deck, this is quite good. And then when it stops being relevant, or if we're not up against an aggressive deck, we can just kind of cycle it away into a lesson. So I think this is pretty good, especially in green-black. Probably a lot worse in green-blue, but in green-black seems fantastic. Tangle Trap, 2 mana, choose 1 at instant speed. Deal 5 damage to target creature with flying or destroy target artifact. Nah, not really worth it. I mean, artifacts just isn't going to matter in this set quite as much. It's a instant sorcery themed set, so the whole destroy target artifact is not going to come up that often, and then it's just too conditional to you know, deal 5 damage to a flyer. You could just get, you know, there's too many situations where this is just going to do nothing, so I don't think it's really runnable. Field Trip, 3 mana, search your library for a basic forest card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle, and you get to learn on top of that. Very good. So this is what I'm talking about with the learn cards. When they have, you know, they have an effect on the front half on the learn card itself that's basically worth a card. 3 mana go and get a forest isn't like super good, but it is basically worth a card. And then being able to go and grab an additional lesson on top of that makes, altogether, that's pretty good. So I think Field Trip is fantastic. And we got a couple of them, man, yeah. So green-black is, we just have a lot of good green and black cards, don't we? Pretty nice. 3 mana Springmane Servant. So this is a 3 mana 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life. I'm pretty sure this card, is this a reprint? It's either a reprint or there's a card that's just exactly the same thing as this with a different name. Even the art kind of looks similar if I remember right. But anyway, this is a, yeah, just, I mean, a 3 mana 3/2 is a pretty not great body, because most times it's going to trade down with a 2-drop if you're trying to attack with it. But in a less aggressive deck, in a more you know, deck where you're trying to sit back a bit more, have a 3 mana 3/2 is pretty okay as far as stats go, and then, you know, it gains you some life, stabilizes you a little bit, so probably fine. Professor of Zoomancy. Is it Zoomancy or Zoomancy? I guess it's probably Zoomancy, like zoology. I don't know, it doesn't matter. Anyway, Professor of Zoomancy. 4 mana 4/3. When it enters the battlefield, you make a pest. Very good. So basically 4 mana, 5/4 worth of stats, and you split that up over 2 bodies, and having that additional body is pretty good because it means something to sacrifice to like a Bayou Graf or whatever, so pretty nice. And we got one of those. Leyline Invocation, so 6 mana, make a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token, put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of lands you control. So this costs 6 mana, so it's likely that you're going to be having 6 lands in the battlefield when you cast this. So 6 mana 6/6, and then, you know, if you end up with like 8 or 9 or 10 lands, it's bigger. It's just not really worth it, I don't think. 6 mana, you want something a little bit more than just a 6/6 for 6 mana, right? You want at least like trample or something, you know, maybe it gains you a little life back or something. But just playing a 6/6 on turn 6 is pretty meh. Bookworm, I actually know about this card too, and I think it's pretty good if I remember right. So 8 mana 7/7 trample. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life and draw a card. Oof, pretty good. And then it has an activated ability to pay 3, put it from your graveyard into your library 3rd from the top. Wow. So Bookworm, this is what I'm talking about here. Paying a big expensive thing just to make a big creature, whatever, but paying a lot of mana to make a big creature that gains you 3 life, so maybe stabilizes you against an aggressive deck so they just can't like attack around your creature and kill you anyway. It draws you a card, so if it does get answered, you at least kind of like are still ahead. And then it has an ability to just keep coming back over and over again by paying 3 mana to come back into your deck. And I really like the flavor of that. It kind of like burrows back into your deck. Because it's a bookworm, it burrows back into your library even, which is even more flavorful. So yeah, I think better in probably green-blue, which is all about ramping. A lot easier to hit that 8 mana in green-blue probably than it is in blue-black, but still probably worth running in either combination, so pretty good. Ooh, okay, we're on to the gold cards now. Like I said, there's a lot of them. This is a kind of a gold-focused set, but this is quite good. So nice to have this lesson in our arsenal, which is just a 3 mana, make a 2/1 flyer. Doesn't seem like much, but I mean, having that attached for free onto cards we are going to be playing anyway, like Field Trip, that's very good. It's sort of like the baseline, probably what we're going to grab most of the time when we're looking at our lessons, because a 2/1 flying body is just relevant. It's just pretty good. So pretty nice to have that. Dramatic finale. I think we will play this if we're in green-black. It is going to be pretty hard to cast, but I think this is an ability that's just worth it at 6 or 7 mana. Still pretty good, you know, even though we're not going to hit that double black early, it's not going to be a turn 4 play. I still think it's probably good enough to play on turn 6 or 7. Exhilarating Elocution. So 4 mana sorcery, put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature control. Other creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. So kind of an anthem, but it's a sorcery. If this was an instant speed, you know, we see effects like this a lot of times in Limited, where it's like instant speed, your whole team gets +2/+1 until end of turn for, you know, 3 or 4 mana or something like that. And those effects tend to be better than they kind of read. They kind of read like they're not really worth playing, but they end games, right? They get through a lot of damage and make for some really bad combats for your opponents. But those are instants, right? You can choose to do them depending on how things go when you attack, how your opponent blocks. This one, you just have to put a couple counters on a creature, pump your team, and then get in. Your opponent knows exactly what's going on. Still, I mean, those 2 +1/+1 counters, if you have enough things that want counters on them, cards like Valentine, cards like, where's the flyer, dude? Arrogant Poet, I guess it gets better, but probably just not a great card. Rhizotextus. This is 6 mana and hybrid black and white. Exile target creature. Ooh, alright, I like it. 6 mana, kill anything and exile it even. And then exile up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from a graveyard and learn. So probably worth running at least one of these, which is how many we have. It's basically a 6 mana kill anything, which 6 mana is a lot for a removal spell. You're getting to the point where like it's just not something you're going to cast against aggressive decks, right? So it kind of loses some versatility as a removal spell, but it does have learn. So when you do get to that 6 mana and you cast it, it's going to be really impactful on the game. You're going to be able to kill their best threat and then untap next turn and play, you know, an Inkling Summonings on top of that to try to finish them off. So yeah, I think probably worth playing if we're in black. In black-white, obviously, it's a little better, but I think either color would probably play this. Prismari Campus. So these lands are actually pretty good. I actually like these better than the rare lands. The rare lands are kind of poopy, but these enter the battlefield tapped. Each color combination has lands like this, and then you can pay 4 mana and tap it to scry 1. So if you've got nothing else going on, you can pay 5 mana effectively because you have to tap this too. So 5 mana, you get to scry 1. It's just free value in your land base. It gives you fixing, which you want already anyway, and then you get to scry on top of that. It's not like good enough that you would play this in like an off-color deck, but having your fixing actually be good kind of give you some good long game stuff. Free value as well is pretty nice. Teach by example, also not a lesson. This feels just like the Liliana card, the Professor's Warning. This kind of feels like it should be a lesson, right? Teach by example. How is this not a lesson? But whatever. It's 2 hybrid red-blue mana. So any combination of red and blue at 2 mana. Instant speed when you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn. Copy that spell. If you do, choose new targets for the copy. So just like we were talking about with increasing vengeance, these effects I think are better in this format than, you know, usually this would just be unplayable, it's trash. But I think in this format they're a little bit better, right? You get, again, you get to kind of triple up on Magecraft triggers. You get the copy triggering by itself, so you get 3 instead of just 2 triggers. And you know, you're just likely to have a lot more instants and sorceries in this set, either in your main deck or that you pull out of the sideboard. So you're more likely to be able to set this up. All that said, you still need 2 extra mana on the turn you're going to cast your instant or sorcery, so you need 5 mana open. If you're at 4 mana with this Inkling Summonings, it's not like you can still do this. And it is, you know, not the easiest mana cost outside of a blue-red deck, so probably just bad. Electrolyze, already talked about this, but pretty big draw towards red-blue. Fantastic card. Spectacle Mage, very cute. I really like that art. But it's a 3 mana 2/2 flyer, and instant sorceries you cast that are mana value 5 or greater cost 1 less to cast. So another change with this set is that CMC doesn't exist anymore. And it was a stupid phrase, converted mana cost. I think everybody I ever taught the game to was like, what the hell is converted mana cost? Like, it's not like an intuitive phrase. Mana value is probably easier to know what's going on. So anyway, mana value is just CMC. So mana value 5 or greater costs 1 less to cast. That's pretty good. If it was so, red-blue, we don't have one of the spells, but there's a couple of red-blue like really expensive spells like 7 mana, 8 mana, 9 mana, and then that's kind of like one of the big themes of red-blue in this set is like getting to these really explosive high-end cards, and this helps you get there. But you can also just play like a 5 mana removal spell, and this is going to discount that too, down to 4 mana. The fact that it's 5 or higher instead of like 6 or 7 or higher means it doesn't only combo with those kind of big late game spells. It can just make your removal better too. So yeah, really good card, I think. Magyar Battleseer. So this is a 5 mana 3/4 with haste, and then you can tap to scry one. So kind of the same idea as our pal here, the Wolf. This Tome Shredder, where in the, you know, when this hasty 3/4 body is relevant, it's going to be nice that it has haste. But when it's not, you can just sit back and start scrying, and that might even be immediately. You might play this and your opponent has a 4/4. You're like, well, again, I can't really attack, but that's okay because you can immediately start scrying, getting some value out of it. It's kind of like your opponent kind of has to answer this eventually, or you're just going to scry into the best way to win the game. So, very good card, I think. Witherbloom Campus, again, another one of these campus cards, pretty good. Cram Session, so 1 in a green or black, and you gain 4 life and you learn. Not really what we want to be doing as far as learn cards go. I mean, we do have life gain, which is a theme in green and black, but I mean, it's not quite the same as something like Arcane Subtraction here, which is kind of effectively, we can gain 4 life by making one of our opponent's attack creatures lose 4 power, so we kind of gain 4 life in that way, but it has a lot more applications, right? It can be a combat trick and such, where this is just hardcore, you gain 4 life. And unless you have just a lesson you really want to go and grab, I don't think this is probably worth running. Dina, the Soul Steeper, do know about this card because it's going to be good in Commander, but 2 mana, green and black, 1/3. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life, and then you can pay 1 mana, sacrifice another creature, pump its power, not by much usually, unless you're sacrificing like a Bookworm or whatever, but it will get to a state where your opponent's just going to die to Dina. You know, she's going to become like a card you have to block, effectively. You know, you attack him with Dina, and we have 3 mana open, and we have 3 things we could sack to make this like a 10 power creature out of nowhere. They might just have to block, right, when they don't want to. So something to keep in mind. But really, the sacrifice ability goes well with stuff like Pest Summonings, which we'll talk about next. But ways to make pests, ways to kill those pests. And I guess sacrificing creatures with this dramatic finale on the battlefield is also quite good, because we get to make a flyer. But all in all, it's just going to sit out and drain our opponent, basically. As we're gaining life with our other green-black cards, this one's just going to be dinging our opponent for a 3, 4, 5 damage over the course of the game. So just a good card all around. Pest Summonings, another really nice lesson, just like Inkling Summonings. All the Summonings are pretty good, but these two I think are maybe the best among them. And Pest Summonings, being able to go grab this, make a couple more pests, that means this card here, this Hunt for Specimens, we can effectively go like turn 2, make a 1/1, or turn 2, make a pest, and then turn 3 to make 2 more pests and really clog up the board, really make it hard for an aggressive deck to get in through us, and just, you know, if we want to start sacrificing things or whatever, we have that too. We're going to gain a, you know, have 3 separate life gain triggers off of that, so just a ton of value out of Pest Summonings, and nice to have as a lesson in our sideboard. Demogoth Titan, another, we kind of talked about this before, but, you know, just like I was saying before, having things to sacrifice makes this card a lot better, and having Hunt for Specimens plus Pest Summonings means that's a lot of fuel for a Demogoth Titan to sacrifice, so quite good. Witherbloom Pledge Mage, so 5 mana, 5/5, and then it has Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant sorcery spell, you gain 1 life. Yeah, I think it's fine. A 5 mana, 5/5, that's very, very easy to cast in a green or black deck, basically colorless in a green and black deck. Pretty good, and the fail case of being a 5 mana, 5/5's, you know, whatever. And in the positive case of being, you know, triggering our life gain stuff, being able to ding for some extra damage combined with Dinah, or Dina, I don't know what her name is, I guess probably Dinah, but I'm just going to say Dina. Anyway, the perfectly playable card. Thrilling Discovery, so again, a big theme from this set in red-white is this whole graveyard, moving stuff out of the graveyard and getting benefits for it theme. So Thrilling Discovery is quite good in red-white, where usually, like, looting is not super good in limited, but being able to fill up your graveyard for stuff you actually want in there makes this a lot better. And this doesn't have, you know, a lot of the old looting cards, cards like Cathartic Reunion, it's like 2 mana, discard 2 cards, draw 3 cards. Seems great, but what if your opponent counters it? Then you just get absolutely wrecked, because the discard part is part of the cost, but that's not the case with Thrilling Discovery. Here, you get to, it's part of the effects. The whole, then you may discard 2 cards if you do draw 3 cards. So if you put this on the stack and your opponent counters it, that's just the end of it. It's not like a Cathartic Reunion where you just get absolutely blown out, you lose 3 cards. There's kind of a ceiling to, or a floor to how bad this can be, so pretty good card all in all. And it does have life gain too, which is whatever. They had to find some way to make it white, I think, and they just kind of threw life gain on there. Stonebound Mentor, another card that cares about stuff moving out of your graveyard. 3 mana, 3/3, get to scry 1, pretty good. Returned Passcaller, pretty fantastic card. So there is some pull towards red-white here. These are some pretty good gold cards in red-white. So what this is it's a 6 mana creature with like a really weird casting cost, but effectively it's 6 mana whatever in your red-white deck. It's either 3 red-red-white or 3 red-white-white, so it's just weird. I don't know. But what it does is it's a 6 mana 4/2 flyer, which isn't like the best body, but is a pretty good way to finish off your opponent. 4/2 flyer, and when it enters the battlefield, you get to return a spirit, an instant, a sorcery, one of those back to your hand. So a lot of the red-white cards are spirits, and a lot of the instant sorceries that you can get back from with this effect is pretty good, especially if you have some good Mystic Archives, you know, some really powerful instant sorceries to cast and then get back with your Passcaller later. Pretty good. So all in all, oh, and also this moves something out of the graveyard to trigger, like your Stonebound Mentor and such. So all in all, just a really great card. Moving on to blue-green, we have Needlethorn Drake. Just a really annoying card, basically. It just demands trade with anything, right? You can leave it back on defense, or it can get in for some early damage when you don't want to trade it, but then when your opponent plays a creature where you're like, okay, I don't want to get hit by that thing, you just leave it back on defense, and like, what are they going to do? It has flying and death touch. They can't get around it. They can't fly over it. They're just going to have to attack into the thing, and if they have a removal spell for it instead, well, you're still trading 1 for 1, right? You're still making them remove this thing, not to have their creature trade for it, so very good card. Ether Helix, 5 mana, return target permanent to its owner's hand, and then return a permanent from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, pretty good little tempo swing here. I think the 2 separate effects on this actually complement each other pretty well, because the problem with bouncing something, the returning target permanent to its owner's hand, it loses you a card in the exchange. You bounce one of their things, but you lose a card. You're trading 1 card for tempo. You're not actually taking anything away from your opponent long term. But this kind of offsets that by returning a target permanent from your graveyard to your hand, so kind of replaces itself, gets rid of that card disadvantage. And oppositely, you get to return a permanent card from your graveyard to your hand, which is okay, but kind of doesn't affect the board, right? Kind of loses you tempo if you're just taking time to get stuff back from your graveyard. So that's a downside of that ability. But you know, the first ability, the returning a target permanent to its owner's hand, kind of offsets that because you at least kind of slow your opponent down, so you can take advantage of that extra time. So those two things combined, you know, two abilities that are kind of situational, sometimes good, but have times where they're bad. I think those two things combined actually make this a really powerful ability. Cody, not going to be playing Cody, unfortunately. Access Tunnel, a land that taps for colorless. It comes into play untapped, which is okay. And you can pay 3 mana, target creature with power 3 or less can't be blocked this turn. Interesting. Again, a kind of a board state breaker, where if things get kind of locked down, nobody can adequately attack. It's a way to do it, but man, a colorless land in a deck with, or in a set with stuff like Dramatic Finale and Demogoth Titan running around, makes it really hard to put colorless lands in your deck, I think. Archway Commons. Okay, this is one of those lands that taps for any color, but enters the battlefield tapped, and you have to tap a mana as well. These are okay. Like, if you just need the fixing, they're not like unplayable or anything. They're a little clunky, but not terrible. Excavated Wall. So 1 mana, 0/4 Defender, pay 1 in the mill card. Okay, just not good. Just not a good card. If you could mill your opponent, maybe. You could do like a control deck and mill your opponent out when you just this thing sits back on defense, but just milling yourself. I get that it's to fuel the whole red-white theme of filling your own graveyard, but I don't think so. I'm not going to play that. Okay, Environmental Sciences, another good lesson to have to pull out of our sideboard. So if we don't feel like making a token with Pest Summonings or Inkling Summonings, we can go grab Environmental Sciences, which just basically tutors a land into our hand and gains us some life. Life gain may be important if we're in green-black. But really just something to do if we don't feel like making a token. Expanded Anatomy, so this is one of the less good lessons, but it's also, I mean, there may be situations where we pull this out of our sideboard if we want to put some +1/+1 counters on a lifelinker or something to gain some life against an aggressive deck. So anyway, what this does is it puts 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature and it gains vigilance. So, you know, we can imagine a scenario where we're doing that with like Valentine, right? Where we put 2 +1/+1 counters on him. Now he's a 3/3 menacing lifelinker with vigilance. That's pretty good, right? So probably fine. I mean, probably the weakest lesson out of our repertoire here, but it is nice to have. Just, you know, in the weird occasions we might want to cast this, it's nice to have it. Letter of Acceptance, 3 mana, taps for 1 of any color, and then we can sacrifice it to draw a card. So ramps us up to 5 mana, taps for any color, which is pretty nice. And then can just sacrifice stuff. It's kind of like a fixed Mind Stone, I guess. A Mind Stone that wouldn't be completely busted. So probably runnable. And then another nice sorcery to have in our sideboard here. Another nice lesson, I mean, to have on our sideboard here. 5 mana, exile target non-land permanent. So an answer to anything. You just 5 mana, kill anything. And the downside is its controller draws a card. So utterly unplayable in the main deck. You would never want this ability, because 5 mana, taking your whole turn at sorcery speed to exile one of their threats, and then they still get to draw a card on top of that, just not good. But pretty vital to have in your sideboard, you know, on those rare occasions where you just need to kill something. If they have, you know, something like Dramatic Finale that you just can't beat, it's just like, this is just going to beat me, I have to get rid of this thing if I want to have any chance at winning. Then it's probably worth paying 5 mana and giving them a card to get rid of a bomb like that. But it's nice to have that out of your sideboard instead of in your main deck. And then finally, Cogwart Archivist, so 6 mana, 4/5 reach, and I can put stuff. Okay, not good. All right, so definitely what stands out to me is green-black. We have, not this. Leave that in our sideboard. We have just a lot of good green and black stuff. We even have some fixing, Bookworm. We are going to play the Dramatic Finale, Hunt for Specimens. Yeah, sure. Professor Onyx for sure, and then all the Grafs, Devouring Tendrils, Arch, Field Trips seem good, Zoology, Professor, the Severin's fine, probably not going to play that. So where are we at? We're at 35 cards with all this. Wait, I didn't even look at all the black cards. So Lash of Malice, Professor's Warning, yeah, we definitely want the Village Rites. And how many +1/+1 counter things do we have? Do we have enough to actually care about this Incaster? No. I'm going to say no, we don't. So yeah, I think this would probably be our deck. How many creatures does that leave us with? 12. And are any of these... The one downside I do see is we don't have a lot of ways to churn out these Biographs. You know, they're basically closer to 5 mana creatures in our deck than 2 mana creatures, which is a little unfortunate. We do have 2 ramp spells with Field Trip. I almost wonder, should we play one of these ramp things instead of one of these Grafs? You know, being able to actually play our Grafs on turn 4 by ramping into them with this Letter of Acceptance might be worth it. If we were to play that and get rid of maybe one of the Professor's Warnings is fine. Yeah, I think that's probably fine. Make sure we can hit our Grafs, and we might actually play 2. We have a lot of good stuff to ramp into, right? We have the Grafs, we have the Pledge Mages, the Bookworms. What if we go up to 2 of these Letters of Acceptance, because they can just cycle themselves away if we don't need the ramp, and go down... I think I would prefer Lash of Malice rather than the Professor's Warning here, and I don't think we want to go down any creatures. We don't have that many Magecraft triggers, so it's not like we're getting extra value out of the Professor's Warning. So I think it's probably the easiest card to cut here. So running both these Letters of Acceptance, I think, is the right move here, because we have a number of 5-drops we want to ramp into, 5 drops plus, and also it means we're more likely to have the triple or the quadruple black for this dramatic finale, where otherwise we might have some trouble with that. So all in all, I think we're pretty good here. Let's look at our mana costs. We have more green than black, but we do have quadruple black. So it probably even splits, probably fine. Do we want to run the Fixing land, this Archway Commons? How important is it that we have Fixing here? So this is basically colorless, colorless. The only real hard card to cast is Dramatic Finale, so I think it's probably... We probably don't want the tempo loss of playing this coming to play tapped and tap another thing land. We have stuff we want to be doing on turns 1 through 3, so we don't want to take that time off, I don't think. So I think we're just going to run it like this. How many learn cards do we end up with? 1, 2, 3... Yeah, 3. 3's fine. This should... You know what? One thing, I would say this should be 2 mana sacrifice it learn instead of draw a card, even though it would be much worse. Drawing a card is just better than learning in most cases, but it's just the flavor, right? You're getting to go to a school. It should be sacrifice it to learn. Anyway. anyway. So this is going to be our deck. Green-black, pretty good from what I can tell. We got some good rares packed into this deck. So Dramatic Finale, Demogoth Titan, Professor Onyx, all fantastic rares. Valentine. So we got 4 rares in this deck, and all of them are really good, I think. Lizette's just going to be fantastic. Yeah, so all in all, this deck looks really good. Really excited to try it out. So here we go. On to game 1. Alright, up against Tack, and yeah, we'll keep this. Would like a green source. We'll probably just play the Valentine, to be honest. The one thing this deck is kind of missing out on is removal. We have a little bit, but if we could have like 1 or 2 more black removal spells, would be pretty nice. Alright, drawing a forest there was nice. Now we get to go Forest, Overgrown Arc. Getting close to this Demogoth Titan. Opponent's also on black-green, sure. Play a Swamp. Attack. And do we want to learn? I guess we don't. We can do that at the end of the turn if we decide we want to. Probably are just going to learn and go grab the lesson that makes little dorks, the 2 1/1s. Okay, we'll gain a life. Sacrifice this. Go get Pest Summonings. Now we're gonna... Oh, yeah. Huh, should we just play this? No, we're gonna go Demogoth Titan. What's up? 4 mana, 11/10. It's big. And next turn we can play Pest Summoning, so we have some good stuff to sacrifice to it. Very nice. I wish we could have left up 1 black mana here for this Village Rites, in case they try to kill our Demogoth Titan, but pretty good. A good thing here is also if our opponent chumps, if we play this land next turn, our opponent chumps with one of their 2/2s and it dies, that means Valentine gets to spit out, we get to pay 2 mana and spit out another token, which means Demogoth Titan gets to attack again. So, we'll be in really good shape if we can untap here with this Demogoth Titan. If they have a removal spell, this thing's dying. There's no way they leave this thing alive. Yeah, okay. They had their removal spell. Yeah, we're not going to block, sure. That's okay, though, because we have this Groff as a follow-up. So the question is, do we want to play Graf, or do we want to play Pest Summonings and then Graf? I think we'll just play the Graf. No real reason just to sacrifice a Pest, and we have this Village Rites that we'd like to use. So we'll just play out the Graf. Get our Graf on. Sad about Demogoth Titan, but yeah, I mean, it's just, that thing is, if you can kill it, you gotta kill it. 11-10 is just too much. It just kills you in like a hit and a half. Alright, so our opponent hasn't really done much of anything as far as impacting the board a lot, but oh, they have another removal spell. That would suck. If they have a removal spell for this Valentine, we're going to be pretty sad. We really want to get in with our Bayou Graf and have them, like, trade. And then we can just pay 4 mana to spit out two 1/1s. If they, like, double block our Graf. We could even leave up Village Rites to draw some cards as well. Probably just would main phase the Village Rites. Okay. Spined Karak. Sure. Alright, so we'll go to combat. Attack with the Graf. I imagine they just traded for the... Okay, they just take 5, sure. We're okay with this. Pest Summoning. Play a Forest, and we're just going to probably... We'll leave up this Village Rites just in case. They try to remove one of our creatures, we can sacrifice it in response with this Village Rites. But if they do nothing, we'll probably just sack one of these little pest dudes. Draw some cards. Blood Researcher, sure. Oh, okay. This is a complicated card. Discard a card, make a 1/1. Pay 1 and tap it. Each opponent mills cards equal to the amount of life you gain this turn. Pay 4 and tap it. Exile 4 cards from a single graveyard. Okay, that's a lot of abilities, but none of them are too crazy. Okay. Well, we are just going to Village Rites, sacrifice, gain a life, draw 2. Oh, Professor Onyx. Ooh! Come on, untap land. Untap land. Yes! Alright. Now we're just going to sit back. No more attacking. That's alright. We will just start drawing some cards, I think. We will take the Zoomancy. Let's see, next turn we're probably gonna... Do we want the... I guess we could take the Graf. Next turn we're gonna play Graf plus Witherbloom Campus. The turn after that we can play Bookworm.
There has to be an answer here.
Alright. Okay. Opponent's getting close to 8 lands when these Scurrid Colonies will be more of a problem, but right now they're not that big of a deal. I mean, unless they have a way to just kill this Professor Onyx, they're probably not going to be able to attack in such a way that... oh, they're just going to spend their whole turn drawing a card? We're okay with this. Sure. Yeah, okay. They exile part of our graveyard and draw a card, but that means they're doing nothing this turn. They might just be trying to hit their land drop so that they can get these Scurrid Colonies up to 4/4s. Because those would be a pretty good threat against Liliana here. Oh, did they not? Even after drawing a card, they're going to miss their land drop? Ooh, that's brutal. Ooh, we got a Graf. Okay. Yeah. Draw a card. Oh, dramatic finale. Holy crap. Oh my god, this is nuts. Okay, we're gonna go dramatic finale. Woo! Hoo, hoo. And we're gonna go play Graf. Sacrifice the little 1, or I guess that's 2/2 now. Gain some life. And no attacks. Wow, okay. Now we are set up. Look at this board. Oh, our opponent's probably going to have to attack this Professor Onyx, but then even if they have tricks where they're trading with our creatures, we're making 3/2 flyers thanks to Dramatic Finale. Oof, yeah, they are in real rough shape. And if they're just spending their whole turn as just drawing cards, we don't care about that. We are just so far outvaluing any sort of Cauldron card draw. Next turn, we probably get the Bookworm, too. We might just start attacking next turn. In fact, I think we will. I think next turn is the swing at our opponent's turn. I think Liliana has done enough here that we really We really don't even need to keep Liliana alive at this point. We can just swing in with everything and start killing our opponent. Opponent is thinking, do I attack? Alright, if we just don't block this at all, this has an activated ability where it can go up to 4 power. Yeah, you know what, we'll block, because then they're gonna... Okay, nope. I was gonna say we'll block because then they're priced into paying 5 mana just to trade. In which case we get a token out of the deal. Man, yeah, we're in such good shape, it's ridiculous. Do we want to play Bookworm? I think, honestly, we just go... Just go to combat, attack and attack. I think we're at the point of the game now where we just kill our opponent. I think we're past the protecting Liliana point. She's done her job. She's drawn us some cards. If they want to attack her, she's going to absorb just a ton of life. We really don't need to ultimate Liliana. We're just going to kill our opponent. Sure. Sure, that's fine. Okay, they want to keep the Scourge Colonies, which makes sense. Okay, they're just gonna do the Reckless dude. That's fine. Yep, sure. They lose the 1/1, they lose the 4/4. We get a 3/2 flyer out of the exchange. Do we want to make a 1/1? If we make a 1/1 here, we can play the Bayou Graf still. That's probably fine. We could play the Bookworm, but I think having 2 bodies is a little better than 1 here, especially when one of them has an Anthem on it. And then play the Bayou Graf. We're not even going to worry about ultimating this. We could try to play the defensive game and ultimate this Liliana. But I think we don't care. we're just going to kill our opponent here. This dramatic finale just gives us a path to victory that's a lot less contentious than like trying to make sure this Professor Onyx doesn't take damage and blocking in such a way. I think we can just be aggressive here. Use her for her minus abilities now, because we'd also want to be a little bit careful about milling out. I guess we're not very close, but it is true that her +1 gets us through 3 cards, right? So that means 4 cards are leaving our deck every turn, so it doesn't take many turns for that to mill you out. So I think screw it. We're just gonna, instead of trying to ultimate her, we'll just her ultimate would pretty much kill our opponent on the spot, but that's okay. We'll just kill them the old-fashioned way. Opponent is really in the tank. They don't have a choice here, unfortunately.
Well, darn.
Yep.
Looks like you flunked out. Mwah.
I like that voice line. All right, so. What you got, opponent? I imagine they kept a land in hand. They discarded a card to make a 1/1 last turn. But I imagine that means the other... What is this? Oh, okay. So they just sacrificed a draw. That's pretty bad. Why would... I would think they just discard this to... I guess it drew them 2 cards, though. Okay. Okay, it makes sense. Okay. I was going to say if it just drew them 1, if they just kind of cycled there, it wouldn't make any sense, but... The fact that it drew them 2, I understand keeping that now, because they're pretty likely to hit a land here, and that's what they want. They want to hit a land, get up to 8 lands for these Scourge Colonies, to be 4/4s, and then they're pretty happy about where they're at, but we don't care about any of that, because we're just going to kill them. They can kill the Liliana. What is this? Exile target creature, and, okay, yeah, and then they go grab a lesson. It's this card. Okay, well, as far as last cards to have here, that's pretty good. Okay, Introduction to Annihilation. That's another reason to just sort of be fast and free with this Professor Onyx. Yeah, you know what? They actually missed their land drop, too. Do you want to draw cards? You know what? Getting our opponent's creature out of the way here. It means that Valentine gets better.
Sorry, you don't make the grade.
I think we're not going to make the 1/1 here. I think we're going to get our Bookworm on this turn to really seal the deal. So attack. We're just going to attack with everything. So our opponent is in rough shape here. If they discard a card to make a 1/1, Yeah, that's what they're going to do. It's still not great because this Valentine has Menace, so they're going to have to double block if they want to block the Valentine. Otherwise, they're still just really blocking the Bayou Griffin, or Bayou Graf without... Okay, wow. Sure, yeah, we'll kill the Pest. We are okay with this. Sure, we get to make a 3/2 flyer, we get to make a bookworm. That's going to do it, I think. Wow. Okay, our deck just came together here. Look at these, man. Professor Onyx and Dramatic Finale are both just ridiculously powerful rares. Demogoth Titan did his best. I guess he's exiled now, but Demogoth Titan did his best. But these are just so crazy in draft. Yeah. He had to do the Annihilation on the Bookworm just because it was a trample that was going to kill him, but then he's dead to everything else. So, wow. Yeah. Whew. Our deck is sick. On to game 2. All right, up against, I don't know what that name is. We got a pretty good hand here. I mean, we can't really throw back 3 rares, right? I think we do just go ahead and spit out the Valentine. We would like some more low drops here. We don't really want to sacrifice our Valentine for this Graf. Okay, well, that's something to do. We can get this tap land out of the way at least. Valentine does do a good job at gaining us some life in the meantime. Okay, Lash of Malice. Not bad. Attack. Alright. Well, next turn, we can Lash of Malice this turn if they play something with 2 toughness. And if they don't, that's okay. But next turn we can... Aw, 3 toughness. That's not fair. That's cheating. Alright, so we're going to go land, attack with Valentine. Got Menace, so our opponent can't block. And then Demogoth Titan. Here he is. The big boy. The biggest of boys. Don't really want to attack and sacrifice our Valentine at this juncture, but once we do get some token making stuff, he'll be good eventually. We're basically just getting casting him out of the way. Oh no! Professor Onyx. No! Come on, man. We're so close. Well, that's brutal. Does probably mean they won't be playing a blocker this turn, so we get to get in with Valentine again, but man, that's pretty rough. Alright, well, go to combat, attack. Eventually we'll find some token makers for that Demogoth. Maybe we should have just sacrificed the Valentine for an attack this turn. Opponent wasn't likely to block. I don't know, this thing does get some value now when it dies, so maybe they would just chump there and draw cards, and we would just lose our Valentine for no reason, so I guess that's fine. We're okay with this. Opponent does know about the Lash of Malice now, which is a lot worse. They're unlikely to play a 2... Okay, well, never mind. I was going to say they were unlikely to play a 2-drop, but they proved me wrong. So we'll go Lash of Malice, kill this guy. We get to make a 1/1, which means we get to attack with our Demogoth this turn. We will go to combat, attack and attack, and attack. Sacrifice the 1/1. Opponent's got to jump here. Yeah, they just scoop it up. All right. Our deck is stupid. Oh my god. This is a ridiculous sealed deck. Demogoth Titan shown his worth this game. Last game we got to see our other rares. Poor Liliana didn't quite make it to the battlefield this game. Got sniped out of our hand by Humiliate. But man, Demogoth Titan was enough. It shows the power. The fact that this thing is you sacrifice something when you attack or block is so much better than just on upkeep sacrifice a creature. You know, like a lot of these sort of Punisher big creatures have been in the past, because we were able to just cast them on turn 4, and even though we couldn't attack with them until turn 6 or whatever, that's okay. We had the casting out of the way. So once we were in a position where we could attack, things got good. Our opponent probably just should not have played this guy, though. That just set us up perfectly. We had a 1-mana kill spell. We were able to make a 1/1, and probably not a good play. Probably should have just done nothing rather than play that. But anyway, we were going to be able to attack anyway. We would just play this 7 and sacrifice it. But anyway, yeah, sweet. Deck is awesome. On to the next one. Alright, up against GG Johnson. This is a little bit of an awkward hand. We've got Village Rites and Demogoth Titan, both which want us to sacrifice creatures. And nothing to sacrifice. So a little bit rough. Yet another thing that wants us to sacrifice creatures here is Bayou Graf, so... But we can ramp into it at least. We can go turn 3 field trip. Okay, opponent's doing a lot of the same things we are. Alright, well, we got nothing to do until next turn when we're going to field trip, but then we're going to be at 5 mana, and we got a lot of 5 mana plays to make, so that's okay. Opponent's pretty aggressive here, though. Dina. Dina, if we play Dina, we can't block any of their stuff anyway. We'll just field trip here. We'll get a forest. What do we want to get? Probably just Pest Summonings. Yeah, we'll get Pest Summonings. Good with our Demogoth Titan. But next turn, we're probably just going to go Witherbloom Pledge Mage. Just to get a blocker on the battlefield. Ooh, okay. Yep. We were a little slow this game for sure, and we're kind of paying for it. I wish we could do 2 things this turn. I guess we could go like Pest Summonings plus Bayou Graf. Because the problem is we play Witherbloom Pledge Mage here. There's a pretty decent chance it just dies. And even without it dying, we don't have 2 blockers. You know what, we're gonna... This is a little annoying because we have to Pest Summonings and immediately eat one of them. But this does give us 2 bodies in the battlefield. And it does make it where we can just play Demogoth Titan next turn. And have something to sacrifice so that I can block, so... It's something. Pretty likely our Graf just dies. Yeah. Graf's dead. They don't get to make a token at least, but they do get to get in with all their boys. No blocks. Alright, we're at pretty low life here. Alright, so we got 6 life, or 6 mana. We can play Demogoth Titan and Dina, which I guess is what we probably do. Yeah. So Demogoth Titan, Dina, and no attacks. And now if they attack in with their Blood Researcher, we can block with Demogoth Titan and the 1/1 and just sack the 1/1, and we still get to block. We've gotten around their menace in that case. Alright, so we've kind of stabilized here, hopefully. If they have a removal spell for Demogoth Titan, it gets pretty bad, pretty quick. Because if we double block the Blood Researcher, they let us sacrifice the 1/1, and then they kill our Demogoth Titan before the combat damage goes through, then we're left with a Dina and not much else. The fact they're thinking about it, though, hopefully means they've run out of action. What you doing, opponent? Alright, they're going for it. Sure. Yeah, we're gonna do it like this. Yep. Likely to get blown out by our removal spell here, but we can't not make this block, right? We gotta try to kill this Blood Researcher. Sacrifice. Gain a life. We get to ding our opponent, which is nice. Infuse. Okay. I mean, as far as removal spells go, at least that doesn't just kill our dude, right? It takes all the counters off their Blood Researcher at least, which is nice. Okay, and now next turn we can go Witherbloom Pledge Mage and leave up Village Rites. Yeah, so Witherbloom Pledge Mage, Campus, pass turn, no attacks. We really want to draw a Bookworm here. Like if we can survive long enough to land into Bookworm, then we're in pretty good shape. Here we probably just do another double block here. If they just get in with everything. Maybe we just... I guess they attack with everything. Maybe we block the little Bloodsucker with our Dina, and we block the Springmane with our Witherbloom Pledge Mage and just take 3. Their Blood Researcher will grow up to a 4/4, but that's okay. We can still block it pretty effectively with Pledge Mage, and we don't lose any creatures in that exchange. Because otherwise we're doing something like double block the Blood Researcher and take 5. Alright, Leyline Implications, whatever, not a big deal. They may just not attack here. Okay. Alright, so I think we are going to do what we talked about. Block, and block. Yep. Sure. Grow their dude a couple times, and alright. Alright, we're gonna have to cast this. It's rough to take the 2 damage. At least we gain one of it back with a Pledge Mage, but it is pretty rough. Okay, Hunt for Specimens is a good pickup, though. So we'll go Hunt for Specimens, gain a life, make a 1/1. What do we want to do? I could Environmental Sciences, which is something we could cast this turn. Or I could set up Inkling for next turn. I think we go and grab the Inkling. Well, we have the Village Rites we can cast this turn if we need to, so... Yeah, and... Pass turn. No attacks. Oh! So we can, like, chump the 6/6 with our 1/1, double block the Blood Researcher. Okay, that doesn't really change anything. Oh, they gain life. That's actually annoying. I forgot that gained you 2 life. Alright. Makes it a little bit worse. And they're going to go ahead and scry. Okay, so we know what's going on here. I guess we already did know what's going on because we saw them go and grab this land, but... Okay. Okay. So we're going to have to block like this. And then I think we go like this and like this and just accept the trade. And we're going to Village Rites to sack our Pest. Draw a couple cards, gain a life off the Pledge Mage, and drain our opponent a bit with the Dina. They've gained like 1,000,000 life, so the drain isn't too important, but the life gain does matter. Wow, just 2 lands. Well, I'm glad to get them out of the way at least. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Wow, we really... I think we need to kill this token, which is pretty crappy, but we'll go Field Trip. We'll get a Forest. I think we have to get Introduction to Annihilation and just kill this token before it just wrecks us. So we'll go Introduction to Annihilation, kill the token. Opponent gets to draw a card, which sucks. Play a Swamp, pass turn. We take 1 damage from the Valentine this turn, but next turn we get to stabilize a bit with the Spectre, which can start gaining us some life. Okay, well that's pretty annoying. A +1/+1 counter on the Valentine. And then it's going to drain us. Oh man, I guess we might just die here. I guess Spectre, we have enough mana to play it and immediately activate it, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, yeah. So we may be able to keep ourselves alive. Spectre. Activate. And pass turn, no attacks. I think we're just dead anyway. Crap. Ah, we almost stabilized. Maybe we should have played Spectre last turn. Okay, that didn't really change anything. But if they just attack with everything here, I think we're just dead. Because we get drained for 1. And we have to double block the Valentine. Yeah, our opponent, I'm sure they see it. They don't see it! Oh my god, if they just attacked with both, we're just dead. I guess they're worried about some kind of 1 mana instant speed something. They saw that we had... Dina is making it so every time we have priority, things stop. Devouring Tendrils. Oh, that's such a good draw. We're just going to Devouring Tendrils. Yeah, Devouring Tendrils on the Valentine, which is fantastic. And then, how much mana we got? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we can activate the Scepter twice. Or we can play... I think we just activate it twice, to be honest. No attacks. We can also play the Inkling Summonings so that we can actually trade with this Karok. Yeah, I think we just activate twice here. We're going to take the hit from this Karok, so nothing much is going to happen with the actual life total here. Oh, no. That's really bad. Well, we'll activate, drain our opponents. And we can sacrifice this thing to Dina so that we can trade with a Karok. I guess we do that because it fizzles the stat pump as well. What? Oh, I guess it doesn't. That was not good. Okay, well, that's... I don't know why I thought that would fizzle the stat. Yeah. I was thinking we got rid of the target for the spell, but of course it targets their own creature, too. I don't know. Did not think that through all the way. Not the best play there. We could have drained our opponent once more, and we would be at 5 here instead of 3. Ooh, scry at the top's not good. We'll go... Letter of Acceptance. Crack it. Inkling Summons. And, yeah, I guess we play the land, but we're basically dead here. Brutal. Not great. I guess we do get to activate this Witherbloom Campus if we're not actually dead, but it doesn't take much just to kill us here. Yeah, we are just gonna double block ski the Carrick, if I can click correctly. This sucks, but I think it's what we have to do. If they have a pump spell, we're obviously just dead. And they have the pump spell. Yeah. Yep. Any benefit to sacrificing? No. Alright, we're just dead. Ooh, that one, I don't know. I didn't play it exactly perfectly. I kind of messed up that interaction with the fight spell. But even outside of that, we were just dead to this Fortifying Draught. We weren't going to win. So, having the 2 extra life there wouldn't have changed anything. We would have been quite dead. So, anyway, alright, on to the next one. We just, yeah, our opponent just managed to Valentine us, really, I think. Valentine's better than it looks, and they just had the right removal spells. We were a little bit slow. Yeah, just a matter of us not quite getting there. We almost, if we could just stabilize, if we could have stabilized a little bit more, I think we were in good shape, but our opponent just kept running out threats, and we were not able to get to a high enough life total not to die to what they were deploying. So, alright, on to the next one. Alright, so this hand is, I think we have to mulligan it. I think, the old adage is if one thing has to go right, it's probably okay to keep the hand, but if a couple things have to go right, you probably want to mulligan it. Here, if we draw a forest, we're okay because we can play Dina, but Dina doesn't do a ton on her own. And if we really need like a forest and other low drops or some ramp spells or something, so I'm going to just mulligan, I think. Okay, I'm happier with this hand. Question is, do we get rid of Crushing Disappointment? Or I think we get rid of Bookworm. As sad as that is, I think 3-drop into 5-drop into draw some cards is probably fine. Ooh, Valentine. Do we want to play Valentine here, or do we want to just wait for Lizette? Lizette plus Witherbloom Pledge Mage is pretty good. How far away is that? So turn... You know what? I think we're on the Lizette train this time. I think that's probably fine. Oh, our opponent is on red-black. That's not a supported color pair in this set, which is kind of interesting to see. I imagine they're actually in 3 colors, like Jund or something, or Mardu. Well, so far. Okay, well, guess what, opponent? You're not the only one with a letter of acceptance. We're both going to Hogwarts, bitch! Alright, and we'll pass. The next turn we got this Pledge Mage coming down. Would have been cool if we could Pledge Mage plus leave up this Village Rites. But that ain't happening, because it's pretty likely our Pledge Mage just dies here, but that's okay. We could have also played Lizette here and left up Village Rites, but I think I'd prefer to go ahead and try to get this Pledge Mage down. If they just kill the Pledge Mage, whatever. It's not the end of the world. They didn't kill it, wow. Don't know what our opponent's doing exactly. Okay, well, we're gonna go... I guess we go... Lizette, because what we can do here is if they go to kill our Pledge Mage, we can maybe, like, I guess we can't even Village, well, you know what, maybe we should have played Lizette pre-combat, because we would kind of prefer them to use the removal spell on this Pledge Mage, which they probably won't do now. Alright, well, sure. The problem is, I was thinking we could play Village Rites. Oh, that is not what they want to be playing in this case. The problem is we can't really be playing Village Rites, sacking Lizette to gain life to grow our guy up to like 6 toughness, because Lizette won't be in the battlefield anymore, so we don't get the trigger. We'd sacrifice her as part of the cost. But if our opponent just doesn't have a way to interact here... Okay, so they are green-black splashing red, and it seems like it's kind of screwed them up this game, not having the green mana when they need it. Well, okay. Oh my god. Okay. Yeah, we gotta. So, play a land, play Onyx. We're just gonna make them sacrifice their servant, and we're just gonna get in for a trillion damage. Goodbye to your creature.
If I won't be given a second chance, I'll make my own.
Alright, and then we can, again, not super ideal, but it is nice. We get the Magecraft triggers off both Liliana and this Pledge Mage. And we still kind of blow out their removal spell, even if we don't get the +1/+1 counters.
Darn, looks like you flunked out. Well,
Yeah, so our opponent needs like a hasty threat here, something that can just kill the Liliana. And even then, they're facing down a 5/5, just smashed them in the face every turn. Crushing Disappointment. Oh, yeah, each player loses 2 life. I'm about to say the 2 life loss on us isn't going to matter, but it's actually pretty good because we got our opponent almost dead. Wow, okay, well they had just straight up removal for Liliana, which is nice, but we also have a Crushing Disappointment, so we're going to go Crushing Disappointment. Opponent's got something to do for 1 black mana. Draw 2 cards. Devouring Tendrils is a nice pickup. Go to combat, attack for 5, put our opponent down to 1. So we can't play Letter of Acceptance. That'll leave us with 2 mana, so we'll just go ahead and Field Trip. Look for a way to finish off the game here. Pest Summonings. I guess they are at 1 life, so 2 1/1 bodies is probably better than a 2/1 flyer. You know what? We'll take the 2/1 flyer anyway. There's a chance that we should have taken the 2 1/1s there, because he's going to need 2 ground blockers to deal with those, where he just needs 1 air blocker to deal with this, but... Okay, Flood Researcher, that ain't it, Chief. Alright, so we're just going to try to kill the thing. What we're going to do here is go... Servant... Yeah, Servant... Gain 2 life, and we're just going to try to Devouring Tendrils like this. That way, if they have a removal spell to blow out this removal, it's only going to kill our Servant, not our big 5/5, and they're still going to have to chump. Well, that's bad. I guess maybe I should have predicted that, because they did have that... They were holding up that 1 black mana. That's pretty brutal. I guess at least we still gained the life here, though. So attack, they're going to have to chump here. We're going to gain the 2 life. Wow, okay, well, our opponent had basically the perfect combination of cards here, but at least we gained some life too. Wow, okay, well, that did not go as well as it could have for sure. Let's see, if we play, we're still going to have 2 mana. Yeah, so our opponent had a combination of cards there. A direct removal spell for our Planeswalker, Lash of Malice to blow up our fight spell, and the Infused Vitality. Oh, and now they had a fight spell too. Okay, well, our opponent has essentially pieced together the perfect series of draws to stay in this game, and has gained enough life to get out of the danger zone. So we're gonna have to actually try here. Would be nice if we could draw some removal. Well, we'll go Field Trip. Go see what we got in our sideboard. I guess we just take the Pest Summoning. Forest, Letter of Acceptance, Pest Summoning, pass turn. Next turn we can like crack these Letters of Acceptance, potentially. Amplifier. Alright, so they got a couple blockers now. Let's see if they start getting in with this 3/3. They do, okay. We're at a pretty healthy life total, so we don't really care about that. Ooh, Dina's pretty good. But we're gonna go sacrifice the Straw Guard. Hunt for Specimens. Alright, so we're gonna go play Dina. Let's see, if we play Hunt for Specimens, we're gonna have 5 mana left, so we're gonna Hunt for Specimens. Go get a Introduction to Annihilation. Kill their 2/2. Get in for 2. Do they have removal for Dina? Looks like no. Alright. Put them down to 3. And with this Dina on the battlefield, that means they can't block these 1/1s anymore. So they need removal for Dina this turn. They've already cast so many removal spells this game. I'll be surprised if they have another one. Come on! Wow. Okay, well, our opponent has essentially demonic tutored every turn to hit their best possible draw. That is just not great for us. Letter of Acceptance, draw a card. Okay, Dramatic Finale is pretty nice. So, Dramatic Finale. Go to combat. Let's see. We can make this a 6, so only a 7/7. I guess we should have played this Bayou Graf first, I guess. So attack with these, they'll take 2. These 2 will die, they'll take 2 more. Bayou Graf. Yeah, we really should have played this Bayou Graf pre-combat. Attack, they take 4 here. Yeah, okay. Opponent takes 4. Yep. I really should have sacked. Man, I'm not playing perfectly this game. I really should have sacked that that dude, but that's okay. Sacrifice a creature. All right, and we've got our opponent dead in the air. Can they draw another way out of this? They've drawn almost perfectly. Just having exactly what they need to stay in the game every single turn. But we have a Deadly Flyer here. All right, Inkcaster doesn't do anything. Oh, I guess no. Yeah, Inkcaster doesn't do anything. So, and in fact, if they attack with this Bookworm, we're just definitely going to throw this Graf under it. Okay. Because that gives us another flyer. Alright, so this should be game. Make a 3/2 flyer. We've got 6 power in the air. Okay. Woo. Wow. Okay. Well, our opponent definitely gave us a run for their money. We were so many times in that game. We were just about to win, and they were just like perfectly had just the right thing to stay in the game. But we managed to get there thanks to Dramatic Finale. Again, it's just really hard to beat the Dramatic Finale. Just gives us too much power in the air. But wow, holy moly, what a game! All right, almost gave me a heart attack. On to the next one. Okay, we need to draw 2 lands for this hand to work. We need to draw. If we get up to 4 mana, this hand is fine, and we do have some interaction early on to keep us alive. But if we don't hit 2 lands, this hand does nothing. Ooh. I'm gonna mulligan. Ugh. Well, okay, this is better. We'll go down one of these, maybe the Village Rites, actually. Yeah, we'll go down the Village Rites. We do have the Overgrown Arch to keep us alive, and then Field Trip gets us up to these Grafs. So this seems fine. Unwilling Ingredient. Alright, well this thing's going to be hitting us for 1 for a while. It is a good thing to kind of get through our Arch. Drawing a land there is nice, because it means we do get to go Bayou Graf on turn 5. Unwilling Ingredient's more of a thing they want to sacrifice, though. It's a really good combo with Graf. Like being able to play this turn 1, Graf turn 2, that's going to win you most games, because this thing, you can exile it out of your graveyard to draw a card. So it's just something you want to die anyway. So on the battlefield, it doesn't do much anything, but it is. The menace is important here. It is dinging us for 1. All right. Yeah, we'll just Field Trip. Go get a forest. Go get a lesson. I think we go get just the Inkling Summonings is probably fine. Get an attacker in the air and pass turn. Start gaining back the life from this Unwilling Ingredient from our Overground. Okay, sure. There's the Carrick, but we've got a Graf to outpace that. Ooh, Bookworm's good eventually. We'll just go. Yeah, we'll just go Graf here. Big Graffin. We could do something like Graf and sacrifice our Arch so that we could immediately Devouring Tendrils. Get rid of the Carrick, but that's okay. If we get hit by this Carrick, it's not the end of the world. Ooh, Witherbloom Pledge Mage on the other hand is something really nice to fight with our Graf here. Gain a life. Dina, huh? Okay, we're gonna go. We can go Inkling Summonings plus, yeah. Dina's kind of tempting because it means when we Devouring Tendrils this thing, we get to ding our opponent too. But I think we'd just be being mana efficient seems better. So we'll just go Inkling Summonings, Devouring Tendrils, kill the Pledge Mage, gain 2. Do we want to attack? We attack, they take it, we get hit for 3. I guess we're not really winning the race against this Carrick. You know what, we'll attack, that's fine. If they want to trade, I mean, getting this unwilling ingredient in the graveyard is pretty nice. So there's a pretty decent chance to just trade here, which we're fine with. We'd like to get this Carrick off the battlefield. If they don't, okay, they're just not going to trade, that's fine. So that means they're going to attack here and we just block with our wall. They get to gain 3 for free, but that's okay. Not the end of the world. We're not actually taking 3 damage, they're just going to be gaining 3 by attacking. So we prefer that. It does make me think maybe they have some pump spell or something if they don't want to just throw away this Carrick. It's pretty good with a pump spell. But we're still going to block. Yeah, there's the pump spell, sure. That's fine, so they pay 1 mana here to basically kill our wall. Just whatever. And another Carrick, alright. Ooh, Demogoth Titan. I could play... yeah, we're just gonna play the Graf here, I think. Be mana intensive, so attack with everything. Play big Graf in it. And try to, I mean, if they have another removal spell and or pump spell, it's going to be bad for us, but we're not just dead or anything. Spectre of the Fins, okay. We at least shut down their little Carrick with this Graf. Do we want to make this trade? Where does that leave us? Yeah, you know what, we'll make the trade. I think we can't just let them keep gaining life over and over and over again, so we'll go ahead and make the trade. We have some good in-game stuff here too, so it behooves us to keep our life total high. Alright, we'll go to combat. I guess we don't have good attacks here. We don't really want to just trade for the Spectre. And or the Carrick, I guess. Yeah, okay, we're just gonna go Demogoth Titan and Dina. Do we want to attack with the Graf? No, okay. We'll just pass turn. This Dina plus the Demogoth Titan is actually a pretty good combo. We can attack with Dina, and if they don't block, we can sacrifice her Demogoth Titan and give her plus 11 power. Not a bad way to just kill our opponent on the spot. So we may do something like that just to force a trade here. Although, if they do just like block with the Moldering Carrick, then we have to like sacrifice a Graf and 2-for-1 ourselves, which isn't especially good. Okay, Pledge Mage. Play the Pledge Mage. Go to combat. Attack. Do we want to attack with Dina? I think so. Again, if they just don't block here, they die. So they're forced to block, and we can just trade like this 2-1's not doing anything anyway. Yep, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. This goes bad if they have a removal spell, but if they don't, we gotta hit them for 12 here. Oh, they don't have the removal. Alright, they go all the way down to 4, which is nice. They do have ways to gain life, mind you. They have the Spectre, the Fins, and the Moldering Carrick. But that's okay. Oh, they're going down to 3. That's okay. Because we got a pretty good attacking force here as well. If they just like swing in with this Carrick. Okay, well, Dina makes things a little Okay, okay. Weather the Storm, not bad. They get to gain 6 life. Trigger their Blood Researcher and their Dina twice. Okay, that's actually a pretty sweet use of Weather the Storm. Not bad. Puts them back into a safe range. They still don't have good attacks. We will just double block this Blood Researcher, because it's going to get to the point where it grows out of control here. Ah, we're 1 mana away from the Bookworm. Okay, so what do we want to do here? We can attack. We can attack with the Pledge Mage and the Graf. Yeah, we'll attack with these two, because that means we can leave back Dina. Let's see, so they block. Man, it's hurting my brain trying to think with this, throwing this Dina into the equation. Are we willing to trade our Pledge Mage or our Graf for their Karak is the question. And they get to grow this into a 5/5. The problem is they're going to start just draining us with a Spectre, and this Blood Researcher is going to get out of control. Maybe we can't attack. Alright, you know what? No attacks. Hopefully we draw an untapped land next turn to play this Bookworm, and then we'll be in pretty good shape, but this Spectre is scary. We would like to find removal for the Spectre if we could. Yep, they get to grow their Blood Researcher. But they don't really get to attack. Because we left our creatures back here, they don't really get to attack with a Blood Researcher. I guess they didn't really get to attack anyway, because we had this Dina. I don't know, my brain hurts. This board state's pretty complicated, with these 2 Dinas on either side, and this Blood Researcher able to grow at instant speed thanks to the Spectre, and it's getting difficult to know what the right move is here. Our opponent's life total isn't especially low anymore either. Hopefully we just draw a Bookworm, and we don't have to hurt our brains anymore. Or draw a land for this Bookworm, rather. Village Rites, okay. I think we go to combat. I think we are going to attack here. Attack and attack. See what our opponent does. Village Rites, I think, means the chance of a blowout here is basically non-existent. This Village Rite should get us to our lands for our Bookworm, too. Okay. Yeah, we're just going to kill this Blood Researcher, sure. And if they do some trickery here to save the Blood Researcher, we can just Village Rites in response. Yeah, we'll make this trade, sure. Okay. Okay, the Blood Researcher's dealt with, which is nice. Sure, but it dings us. Do we want to just Village Rites now? I think so. We'll just Village Rites, sack our flyer, see if we can draw something to actually do this turn. Ooh, Professor Onyx. Okay, if we play Professor Onyx, minus her, she goes down to 2 loyalty, so she would just immediately die. So I guess we just play Spectre here. We'll play Spectre, which is a pretty good defensive body. Stops their Spectre. And their Carrot gets to get in, but that's okay. Next turn we can Bookworm, and then once we've established our board a bit, we can start going with the Professor. If we draw like a good 2-drop next turn, I guess we can... Actually, we don't even have the mana. We still don't have the mana for Bookworm, do we? So... Well, that sucks. Yeah, I guess there's no reason not to. We will make the trade here if they just attack him with everything. We will block the Carrick with our Dina, because having creatures off their side of the battlefield is good for this Professor Onyx. Okay, they hit us for 3, sure. Still would prefer just to draw a land and play this Bookworm, but we can just play Onyx next turn. Alright, Perfect. So now we're going to go... Do we want to attack first? If we attack, they block with the Carrick. We're just going to play Bookworm. We'll save the attack for next turn, because then we can attack and also leave up Dina, potentially, to help if something goes wrong. Here, if we attack them with the Graf and they have, like, a pump spell or something, we can't really activate Dina and be happy about it, because it means we'll be giving up on the Bookworm, which we don't want to do. Alright, so here we're pretty well set up, I think. We get to attack next turn, and they may block... They have to block a lot, right, because of this Bookworm. And if they block in a way that they lose a bunch of their creatures, we get to just Professor Onyx and maybe snipe their remaining creature. Okay, so let's think about this. If we attack with everything, we have this Dina to sacrifice the Bookworm if they don't block that. In which case, it becomes a 7 or an 8 power attacker, which would just kill them, although they can gain life at instant speed. Okay, we're just going to attack with everything except Dina. This gets kind of confusing, but I think this is fine. Again, we just want to get creatures off the battlefield, so we're fine, like, trading our Graf for just a Spectre here if they double block it. We're okay with that, because we want to just get creatures off the battlefield so that we can play this Onyx, minus it, and kill our opponents like Carrick, if that's what's left behind. And then we can just kind of take over the game from there. That was unexpected. It's got Trample, so... Okay. Alright. I mean, sure. They get to gain some life from this. But we still get to do some damage here. And we do get to put Bookworm back in our deck, even. Okay, so... We can... Onyx... We're gonna go put Bookworm back in our deck. And Onyx is just gonna die here. But we get to immediately get back our Bookworm. I think that's better than... sacrificing... Making them sacrifice the Carrick here and just losing it to the Spectre. I think we just get to dig back to our Bookworm here, which is pretty nice. Okay, and I think we're okay with this.
Impeccable study habits.
Okay, so next turn we get to recast Bookworm. They get to hit Liliana down to 1 here, potentially. We will just block their Dina with our Dina, which means they can sacrifice their Carrick to kill our Dina in that case, but we're okay with that. All right, so they're probably just gonna throw everything at Onyx, and is it worth keeping the Dina? I guess we just kill them if they do that, right? Because we can just attack with everything. I guess they can gain 2 life. Ugh, there's too much complexity on the board. Because they can gain 2 life with this Spectre. They're going to gain 3 life with this Moldering Carrick. They have the Dina they can activate at instant speed, and we do 2. Man, feels like I'm playing Lorwyn Limited. There's just so much complexity in the combat with all these cards running around. If they just attack with everything and sacrifice the Scurried Colony to kill the Onyx, we're okay with that. If they attack everything, we block the Dina. They'll sacrifice the Scurried Colony to kill our Dina. Deal 5 to Onyx. Or maybe they'll just deal 5 to Onyx and just let them bounce off each other. Jeez Louise. They're just going at me? That's unexpected. Alright, so if I don't block the Dina, he can deal 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10... Okay, they'll just kill me if I don't block the Dina, so... I'll block Dina. Sure. We'll go down to 5, 6... So they can hit us for 7 here, which is fine. We get to gain 3 life with Bookworm next turn. I imagine they won't just sacrifice the Scurrid Colony to kill Dina at this point. Yeah. They prefer to just drain us here down to, actually down to 1. That was closer than I thought it was. Okay, I'm just bad at math. Alright, so I can minus Professor Onyx here. That gets this out of the way. Yeah, I can kill my opponent here. So, minus Professor Onyx. They have to sacrifice the Scurrid Colony. And then I just get to go Bookworm. Sacrifice the Bookworm to make her an 8 power creature. And finally, kill my opponent. Good God, what a complex nightmare of a board state. But we got there. Whew. My brain just about blew up, but we managed to beat our opponent there, so sweet. Oh, I'm going to take a nap after that one. Dear God. Whew. Complex set. Alright, on to the next one. Alright, up against Stanaka. And we'll keep this. We got Hunt for Specimens, the old Hunt for Specimens, and to make a bunch of 1-drops combo. Or a bunch of little 1/1 pests. And actually, Bayou Graf is a really good follow-up. Let's see, do we actually want the Pest Summonings now that we have this Bayou Graf? Might be better to get this Environmental Sciences to make sure we hit our Professor Onyx. Let's see, so we can Field Trip. You know what? We'll just get Pest Summonings. It's pretty likely we draw a land sometime in the next few turns, and if we do, we'll be happy to actually have this Pest Summonings. Alright, yeah. So we'll go play we can play Letter of Acceptance. We still can't play the Bayou Graf. I think we just play the Graf here. We can ramp later. Yep. Just start Graffing it up. And that's a big 5/4. And our opponent's on blue-green, so it's going to be a little difficult for them to deal with that. Maybe if they have a bounce spell, that's pretty good, but assuming they don't, it's going to be pretty painful. Alright, start attacking. Opponent takes 5. So do we want to Letter of Acceptance here? We don't really have a 2-drop. We can go and grab. I guess we just Field Trip. Forest. Go get a... I guess... Do we want the removal spell? You know what, we'll take the removal spell. I think we're good on creatures right now. This way we have unconditional removal if they just drop some crazy bomb we need to deal with. Otherwise, we're pretty set up outside of them having some kind of crazy bomb. We're in pretty good shape. We would like to draw 1 more land here. This is kind of why I wanted to take the Environmental Sciences. Because if we draw a land here, we get to play Professor Onyx, and if we don't, we're a little annoyed. But we still do have this Graf, just kind of Graffing on him. Graffing him up. Do they have... What are they doing? Wormhole Serpent. Okay. Oh yeah, land. Now we get to Professor Onyx. We get to make them sacrifice their Wormhole Serpent.
It was going to die eventually anyway.
Do we want to just leave this back on defense or get him for? We'll get him for 5. There is a chance here they have a pump spell and they're able to use it on the Zimone to kill a Professor Onyx. But then they're pumping up their Zimone, tapping it to attack our Professor Onyx, and leaving themselves open to get hit for 5 again. And if they don't have that, we can kind of like burn them out with Magecraft here. So getting that 5 damage is pretty nice. Yeah, I think we made the right choice here. It's got to be something like really sideways happening here for it to go poorly. Something like really outside the box has to be killing us here. And if not, we get to go Pest Summonings, Village Rites. That's 4 damage, and just so we can keep our Graf on. Eureka Moment is not what we were worried about. That's not even a pump spell. All right, do you have a pump spell? Because that's kind of what you need in green-blue to get this extra point of damage. I don't think they have anything hasty in this set in green. Wow. That is quite literally the best set card in the entire format. I don't think there... Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's nothing else in the entire format that would actually deal with both issues. Nuts. Okay. Well, we could go Letter of Acceptance, play Dramatic Finale while they're tapped out. Yeah, I guess that's fine. That leaves us with 1 green mana up. We could also go Letter of Acceptance. Yeah, whatever. We're gonna Letter of Acceptance, Dramatic Finale. Still really want to hit a land drop here. But yeah, that's... Wow. Well, our opponent had exactly the card. It had to be... I'm fairly certain nothing else besides Quandrix Command in the entire format would deal with that situation. So, opponent had the perfect card to stay alive, to at least be in a good situation after the last turn. There's plenty of cards that kill our Liliana. Like, don't get me wrong. Plenty of stuff, plenty of combat tricks to pump up the Simone enough to kill the Liliana. But both killing the Liliana and getting the Graf off their back, I think Quandrix Command is the only card that does that. So, pretty nuts. Alright, so they just drew a card to hit their land drop there, most likely. Do they have a way to deal with this Dramatic Finale? No. Okay. Okie dokie. So we get to go... We have 7 mana here? Yeah, so we get to go Graf plus Dina. Play the Dina. Pass the turn. And now, I mean, we're at the point where if they trade for any of our creatures, we get a token out of the deal, a 3/2 flyer. And if they don't trade, then they're taking a Graf to the face. Village Rites, having, you know, if we can get back to our turn here, we have this Village Rites able to answer any problematic removal, that would be nice too. We still have this Introduction to Annihilation if they do cast something that makes this bad for us. Augment or Pugilist. Alright, so it's an 8/8 Trampler, and that's it. Okay. I think we probably just Introduction to Annihilation that thing. Clears the way for us to start attacking. Oh wow, hardcore counterspell, sure. Do we want to Village Rites now? I guess we could do it on their upkeep. Yeah, let's do that. No attacks. In turn. And then we can just, on their upkeep, Village Rites, sacrifice Dinah. I guess the one downside to this, maybe that we should have done it on our own turn, is that now we don't get to trigger this thing a second time. Yeah, you know what? Maybe we should have risked the counterspell. I wanted to make them waste that mana they had left open, that 3 or 4 mana, and use the counterspell on their own turn if they had to, but maybe we should have just... now we're in a position where... Yeah, this doesn't give us a token anymore, which is pretty annoying. When otherwise we would have gotten a token from that exchange. 1, 2, 3, 4... yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. We get to gain life with our Bookworm here, so we're okay with this. Alright. Okay, so we can go... Do we want to play Bookworm or just play Servant plus Pest? Yeah, you know what, we'll play the Pest Summonings because the +2, you know, from our Anthem here is pretty nice. So, do we want to attack? Chump, take... I think we can attack this turn, actually. I think we need to hold back a little bit so we just don't die to this Pugilist. Everything having 4 toughness is a little annoying. Because we have these 3 power blockers. Yeah, there's probably a better way we could have played this game. I think that Village Rites play was actually just incorrect, the way we did that. Alright. Throw something in front of the Bayou Graf. Block. Block. Okay, if the game lets us block. Chump. Okay. See if we can get this Pugilist off the battlefield. We do, okay. Even though we traded 3 for 1, we get a we get a token out of the deal. Gain some life back too. What? They had a second Pugilist? That's nuts. Well, luckily we get to go Bookworm. Should have played a land first. Wow! Okay, well, when you got it, you got it. I guess, is this... yeah. Wow, okay. Well, our opponent, we had some good plays, but our opponent just quite literally had the perfect card at every turn. I mean, to be fair, our opponent had just a really good deck too. 2 Augmented Pugilists, one of the better rares out of the entire set. They had a counter spell, and really it came down to the Squandrix's command. If they had, I think quite literally, including all the Mystic Archives, all the rares, all the Mythics in the entire set, I think it was just Squandrix's command that saved them. So they had to have a very, very, very specific card, and they managed to have it. And then on top of that, they just had a crazy good deck too, with Augmented Pugilist and Counterspell and a lot of good cards. So I think, yeah, I mean, our opponent just had the right setup there to beat us, but yeah, pretty brutal. We had a pretty good series of stuff too, but they just had better. All right, on to the next one. All right, we will. Yeah, we're definitely keeping this hand. So we got a. I think we got plenty to do at higher CMCs, so we'll just go ahead and play this Valentine. And we really just need a third land. If we hit a third land to get to this Letter of Acceptance, that's not a third land. In fact, that is another 2-drop. I guess we got to take the Environmental Sciences, just in case we don't hit a land next turn. This is where Environmental Sciences is good, right? That we kind of ensure that we're going to hit our third land drop here, even if it has to be in a really, really, really painful way. But if we got to do it, we got to do it. Normally we would just like to take a Token Maker, but you got to do what you got to do. Okay, opponent's got some ramp. How is this a 2/2? For each land you had enter the battle. Oh yeah, okay. Well, yeah, we're gonna have to do this the most brutal way possible. I guess we get double black. Get him for 2. Well, hopefully we can hit a land drop naturally next turn, but if not, we have Letter of Acceptance to get us to 4 mana. Oof, it's really gonna make us drag ourselves all the way to 4 drops, huh? Yeah. Ugh. All right. Well, no attacks. We've managed to get to 4 mana, but we have just missed every land drop along the way. Brutal. Well, it does show the power that, you know, we've missed every single land drop and we're still kind of on course to cast our spells, so pretty good sign for our deck, but yeah, pretty brutal too. Next turn we probably just play Demogoth Titan. Sure. That's fine. No blocks. Wow, we are actually just going to miss every land drop, huh? Alright, no attacks. Demogoth Titan. Next turn we can attack in with him, sacrifice our Pest. They've got to chump the Titan, and then we can play this Servant, I guess, to have something to sack next turn. Maybe play the Spectre, I guess. It's getting pretty brutal, though. We're really, really, really gonna need to start actually drawing lands here. Okay, we're actually happy about that, because that was something they could just chump our dude with. Okay, so we're gonna go to combat, attack, sacrifice our 1/1. Opponent's got a chump here, probably just with one of their 2/2s. Unless they're just going to take 11 to the face. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. We will make a 1/1 and play the Servant. And yeah, I mean, Valentine does a good job at, if they try to chump their way out of this Demogoth Titan, we're just going to keep making 1/1s to feed to the Titan. So they gotta have a way to actually deal with this thing. Oh my gosh, we cannot find lands. It's so brutal. Yeah, we will just attack in here, sacrifice the 1/1, gain a life. At least we're drawing 3 drops, though, which means we can make a token here to fuel our Demogoth Titan and also play Field Trip. But good God almighty. We need to hit some lands. Please! Okay, our opponent's going to actually trade off here. Sure. We don't have any way to, like, combat trick our way out of this, so... Let's see, we have 11 power, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... We get to kill everything? Okay. Sure. We'll take a sweet 3 for 1 and get to make a token out of it too. Although maybe we don't make the token now that we don't have this Demogoth Titan to feed. Maybe we just take the trade. And play... Oh, I have to press done, okay. Take the trade and play our Witherbloom Pledge Mage. He's playing this Field Trip. I guess Field Trip does get us to... Field Trip does get us to Professor Onyx next turn. I think we're not going to play, or pay. Yeah, we'll just decline. 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 And I think we're actually going to play the... Yeah, we'll just play the Pledge Mage. I think I'd prefer to keep the pressure on with big creatures. Oh, wow, approach. Okay, so we got it. Yeah, I think we're in the right here for not just spending our time making 1/1s, because we need to pressure our opponent now. They're just going to win the game in a few turns. Good. Oh, man. That said, we really desperately need to actually draw a land this game. If we could have played Professor Onyx here, we would be in essentially an unlosable state. But now, what do we do? We could Field Trip, which leaves us with enough mana to also make a dude. We could play Dramatic Finale, which doesn't really do anything. Yeah, okay, what we're going to do is attack with everything. See if they make this trade with their Spectre. They shouldn't, because it has a way to gain life. But they may feel like they need to make this trade. Okay, they don't. Then we can go... We gotta draw a land eventually, right? So we're just gonna play this Spectre here. I believe in the law of averages. I believe in math. We will draw a land eventually. I believe! Damn it, I believe. Master Symmetrist. Alright, whatever. We can, if we do... Okay. Swamp, Professor Onyx. Get to just kill the Symmetrist.
Welcome to Witherbloom College.
Which gets exiled.
Watch the life essence fade.
Attack, attack. Yeah, there's no real reason to attack with a flyer. Alright, let's go make the trade there, sure. Alright, and now they're under some pressure. If they have removal for our Spectre, they get to kill the Liliana, which is okay. But if they don't, they're just screwed. Alright, now we're in pretty good shape. So we'll go Dramatic Finale. Draw a card. See if we can draw something we can actually do this turn. I guess we should have done this first, but I can't imagine we draw something better than Finale. Alright, we'll take the Village Rites. Go to combat.
There has to be an answer.
Attack with everything. Opponent just chumps here. Sure. That's fine. Opponent does get to activate the Spectre, so they can kind of stay alive. Alright, and we'll go Field Trip. Forest. Go get a Inkling Summonings. Alright. I mean, the reason we attacked with the Spectre here is because we didn't want them to just chump. Which I guess they probably wouldn't have done anyway, but now we got them at such a low life total that it feels we don't really care if they like attack our Liliana and get her down to 1. Who cares? Alright, they do get to learn here, so what are they going to grab? They got something that can get them out of this situation. Let's see. Academic probation. Okay, so that could shut down our Pledge Mage for a turn, I guess. Sure, but they're still pretty dead. We can just go Inkling Summonings, drain our opponent. We can go Professor, sacrifice our dude, drain our opponent, draw 2 cards, minus the Liliana, and that should be game. Ooh! Yeah. Xaxes. Alright. Ooh, so that wasn't particularly close. 0 to 33. Pretty good. Alright, so yeah, that was our deck just going off again. This deck is nasty when it goes off. We've run across some other nasty decks that have managed to beat us, but man, when this thing goes off, it goes off. And we actually managed to win despite missing like 5 land drops in a row. We still managed to get our cards on the battlefield and win. So pretty good indication that this deck is quite good. All right, on to the next one. Okay, yeah, I guess we keep this. It's a little bit slow. If we're up against like something aggressive, Village Rites does not help our situation. But we have Field Trip. Get us to our stuff a little bit earlier. Okay. Another Graf is pretty terrible. Yeah, we really just need to draw like a 2-drop here. Alright, what does this thing even do? Magecraft. Okay, it just drains us. That's pretty good, actually. We will Field Trip. Go get a Forest. Go get... What is something we can do? I guess Pest Summonings. Yeah, we'll get Pest Summonings. Do that next turn. That's something we can do and leave up the Village Rites to draw some cards, too. So, pretty nice. Spectre. Yeah, okay. We may just Graf it up, in fact. Yeah, let's just get our Graf on. I think that's better than Pest Summoning plus Graf. Just getting another 1/1 is whatever. Sure. Alright, problem here is if we play Professor Onyx and they just have a removal spell, we get pretty wrecked. We could Devouring Tendrils, deal with this Pride Mage, and we'd still have the mana to Pest Summoning. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go eat this guy. Gain some life. Pest Summoning. And I think we attack for 5 here. I don't think our opponent will attack to these pests. And if they do, we'll double block, and if they have some sort of way to punish that, we have Village Rites sitting back, so I think getting into 5 damage there is pretty good. This Liliana, you know, the lower our opponent's life is when we cast Liliana, the better. Because this Magecraft can pretty quickly take them out of the game. Alright, opponent does nothing. Oh, Dramatic Finale. Nice. But I think we're going to go Professor Onyx. Try to hit a Black Source here.
Open your books to page 17 or something.
Alright, Swamp. Pretty good. Play the Swamp. And now we can
Never thought I'd miss the library.
pass the turn. Now we can Village Rites, which will trigger our Professor Onyx. And also draw us a couple cards. Pretty nice. We're going to leave it up. Okay. I don't think this card is very good. So they get to go grab 4 3-drops, and we give them the worst out of that. The 2 worst 3-drops out of that. So whatever the 3rd and 4th best 3-drop in their deck, they get to put it onto the battlefield. I mean, I guess for 1 card, that's not bad, but... Okay. We'll give them a Servant and a... Is Dina worse than Blood Researcher? I guess we're at a pretty low life total. Maybe we need to give them the Blood Researcher, actually. Yeah. Oh! I chose that wrong. Well, that's not what I meant to do. I thought I was picking what to put on the battlefield, but I actually was picking what to put into the graveyard, I guess. That's pretty brutal.
You've got to learn some manners.
Well, we'll do this. We may... well, they got their 2 best 3-drops instead of their 2 worst ones. Lesson learned, I guess. Okay, I guess we can get rid of the Graf though. So probably just go Bookworm, draw a card, take the Lash of Malice is actually okay here. We can get rid of their apprentice, and no attacks. Alright, and now next turn we can go like play Dramatic Finale and start getting in with the gang here. Alright, do have Eliminate, sure. But if they swing in with everything, we get to just eat the Graf. Okay. Sure.
New life, same annoyances.
Alright, we're gonna go hunt for specimens, trigger Professor Onyx, make a 1/1, see what we get on our sideboard here. Probably just Inkling Summonings. Yeah, Inkling Summonings is fine, especially with this Dramatic Finale coming. Go to no, we'll go Dramatic Finale. Attack with our Bookworm. Alright, so we can give this 9 power, that'll be 10, 11. We can't quite kill our opponent like this, so we'll just hit him for 7. And then we can go Bayou Graf for 2, sacrifice a creature, get to gain a life, and we can still leave up this Lash of Malice to potentially kill something at instant speed. We get to draw a card too. We'll just take the Graf, I guess, and pass turn. All right, so now we've got this Lash of Malice to deal 2. Because of Liliana, it deals 2 damage at instant speed, and also makes our opponent lose 2 life, and also can kill a 2-drop. Containment Breach. Okay, sure. Alright, alright. That's not bad. And our opponent scoops it up. Alright, so they knew they were dead to Professor Onyx, because really her Magecraft ability is what's just so broken about her, right? We were going to be able to, if they attacked him with everything, we can block the Graf with our 1/1, we can block the Soul Steeper with our 5/4, we can use Lash of Malice to kill their Wither-Bloom Apprentice so it wouldn't hit, so she would just take 2, they would get drained for 2 by Professor Onyx, then we could like play Inkling Summoning, drain her for 2 more, play Field Trip, drain her for 2 more, and then they're just dead. So yeah, our opponent was super, super dead. Liliana, once again, proving to be a very, very good card. Believe it or not, Planeswalkers and Limited are actually good cards. So I think we're on to the finale. Yeah, okay, we're on to the finals here. So we got 2 losses, we got 1 win left. So however this goes is going to be the finale. So here we go on the last game. All right, we're going second. I think we'll keep this. Dramatic Finale is basically nowhere near castable, right? This is going to be like turn 10 by the time we play this. But we do have Overgrown Arch, which should keep us alive for a long time, and that should help us eventually get to this Dramatic Finale. We do have Ramp on turn 3 into a 5-drop, so... Okay, well that's gotta die. Holy crap. So, Mila is a mythic creature that draws up a bunch of cards and eventually turns into a Planeswalker. But we do have a blocker to survive. Alright. Didn't even want to bluff the removal spell. Wow, we're really going to draw Stone Cold 0 swamps, but that's okay. In turn, now we got a 5/5, so they got to have something here. Oh, okay, they're 3-color. Interesting. What are you splashing black for? Well, okay. That's a little sad, but alright. That was our way to deal with Mila. Having a thing to fight with there would have been nice. Okay, Graf's not bad, so we can We play Letter of Acceptance. We have 4 mana, so not enough to also play Graf, so we'll just play Graf. Get our Graf out there. Pass turn. We can eventually sacrifice this Overgrown Arch to go get Environmental Sciences to go get a swamp, so that plus our 2 Letters of Acceptance are basically removal, are basically enough to get us to Dramatic Finale, right? Yeah, so we're gonna go Dina, Letter of Acceptance, and then we're gonna just eat the Mila here. They do get to draw a card, but that's okay. Get to draw, gain some life, which dings them, and then we get to attack. And now, this Mila plus this Dina, or this Overgrown Arch plus this Dina means we're going to be draining them every turn, which is pretty nice. So getting some damage in there is pretty good. Well, okay. Dina is now dead. Deadna. But we are pretty close to casting this Dramatic Finale eventually. So we might just sacrifice the Overgrown Arch this turn. Go get Environmental Sciences. Okay, that's just the Spirit thing. Star Pupil is nothing. Gosh, that is kind of a little bit crazy. So we're going to gain 1 life. Sacrifice this. If we had hit 1 swamp, we'd be in really great shape, but we're just not gonna make it that easy. Yeah, we'll get Environmental Sciences, cast Environmental Sciences, go get a swamp, play the swamp, attack with the Graf. They take it. Alright. So next turn, we can, if we draw a swamp, we can play this Dramatic Finale, and then their blocks get really bad. Sure. Wow, okay. They're gonna hit us for 2. Come on, come on. Swamp, 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 swamp. Yeah, alright. We made it. It took the most painful process in the world, but we got there. Alright, so opponent's gonna trade here. That gives us a 3-2 flyer. So we are more than okay with that. And now we can start cracking. Now that we don't need quadruple black anymore, we can start cracking these Letters of Acceptance. Wow, we've had a lot of mana troubles with this deck, and we just managed to kind of continue on in spite of it. Pretty great sign that, you know, just only hitting forests in the top half of our deck didn't really. Wow. Okay. Well, that pretty cleanly answers what we're doing. But we also get to do this. Go get a lesson. What do we want to get? I guess probably just Inkling Summonings. Keep the pressure on. And pass turn. No real reason to play this forest right now. Pillar drop Rescuer. Sure. I guess I'm going to go get a Plains. What? Oh, that isn't what I thought it was. Okay. I thought this was a different card. I think I'm just gonna get the flyer out of the way. Maybe, you know what, this is actually probably better. Expanded Anatomy. Make my flyer too beefy to block. If they have a removal spell, this sucks, but if they don't, we got some pressure in the air now. Alright, come on, come on, come on. No removal. There's the removal. Brutal. Okay, well, a Wrath may be enough. That's pretty devastating mastery. It's not even a normal Wrath, it's like a Mega Wrath. Okay, Village Rites is pretty good. Village Rites, sack the dude. Well, that's... Alright, well, we were going to draw a bunch of lands in a row, so it's good to get that out of the way, at least. Jeez, I didn't expect that, though. Our best draw is probably the Worm. What? Come on. Alright, well, we get to Scry at least, but man. Okay, our opponent... I mean, that was... This card, that's why Wraths are good, right? Is that you can... Your opponent... Our opponent didn't play into it, and we did, so... But man, hitting what was this? 5 lands on top of our deck? That's pretty brutal. Okay. Yeah, okay, sure. Play Liliana. Draw a card.
New job, new life, new opportunities.
Bookworm. We'll take the Bookworm. They can't kill us this turn. We don't get to do anything with the Demogoth Titan anyway, so there's no real reason to take it. Well, that's pretty brutal. They don't even have to attack our Liliana there. That sucks. Ooh, do they kill us? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... No, okay. We barely live. They're gonna start growing this Tome Shredder, sure. Alright, well, we get to Bookworm here, so that's something. Okay, Lash of Malice is actually pretty good. We can kill one of their dudes. It does let them draw a card thanks to Mila, but that's okay. Probably just kill this Tome. No, probably kill the Flyer, actually. Ooh, Bayou Graf. Can't really play it this turn, but next turn. Yeah, we're just going to use this Lash of Malice to essentially stay alive. Do we need to do this now? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You know what? Okay, we're just going to let this happen. We want them to attack with everything, and we can kill one of their creatures in response. Oh, if they have a removal spell, then that's just brutal. Unreal. Well, our opponent... Yeah. Our opponent just had a busted deck. Oof. Alright, 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 alright. Well, it looks like we're going to lose this one. We had to top deck 5 lands in a row to do it. And also our opponent had a really good deck. We do get to go... Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... Do we have to kill the 3-drop? A 3-power creature? Yeah, I guess we do. They get to draw a card here. Man, we would have had them dead too. They had to have the ability to kill a freaking 8/8 or 7/7, whatever the worm is. Yeah, we would have had them dead on the backswing. Field trip. Is there anything we can do with this? Pest summoning. That doesn't keep us alive because of the flyer. Yeah, we just can't. I mean, we can do Pest Summoning, play Biograph, sack one of them, go up to 2 life, but we still die to the flyer. So that's gonna be it. Man, I don't know. Brutal stuff. So we'll just scoop it up. All right. So that's a little bit of a disappointing loss there. I think all the games we lost, our opponent drew extremely well. Like, you know, that's just part of the game. Sometimes your opponent draws well, sometimes you do. But it is, I think, a sign that our deck was pretty good. In any game where our opponent just didn't have, like, their ideal draw, we just crushed it, right? Like Liliana, and we just had a number of rares in our deck that were just, like, really hard to beat. But in the games where our opponent managed to just, you know, draw either the perfect answers to what we had going on at just the right time, or, you know, just literally all the rares in a row, they were able to beat us then. But I mean, that's sometimes going to happen even with a good deck. We're 1 short of max wins. We got 6 wins out of 7, so that's still pretty good for kind of the first foray into the format. We got our entry fee back, which is pretty nice, and we got a good amount of prizes too. So let's open up our prize packs to see what we got out of those. All in all, I think our deck was actually really... That's the store. Whoops. All in all, I think our deck was really fantastic, and put together a pretty sweet Golgari or Witherbloom, whatever they call it. And it is nice that out of these packs, a lot of times you get double rares. Like, we got the Electrolyze and also the Torrent Sculptor, because you get the Mystic Archives are just, like, separate from the main set. So it's not like you only get one or the other. So yeah, here we got 2 rares again, Crossing Grip, which is, I don't know, not really playable, but we got that plus Plarg, which is nice. And lastly, we get just one of the worst land cycles. I'm not really happy they brought this back for this set. These cards just suck. But anyway, yeah, our deck was great. I had a lot of fun with this. I hope you enjoyed watching. Witherbloom was a fun deck to start out with, and Strixhaven seems like a really interesting format. The Magecraft aspect in particular, I really like. It adds a whole new bent to the, you know, the whole calculus of how many instant sorceries you put in your deck, how much they're worth. You know, a 1 mana instant or sorcery. It just has like inherent worth to it outside of the fact that of whatever it does, because if you have enough Magecraft, it's really nice. And I think in, you know, in a slightly better series of draws, we would have easily 7-0'd this, but we got pretty close anyway. So, alright, hope you enjoyed watching. This has been 2D, and I'll see you next time.